We find ourselves at the Steel Guard training grounds. For the very first time, the Patriarch's youngest son has managed to do it. He completed the training Raphael had assigned to him. The captain cannot hide his confusion. This is the same boy who once pretended to be hurt just to avoid warm-ups, the pampered troublemaker, the disgrace of the family. So when he lifts a sword and settles into position, the knights nearly burst from holding back their laughter. But this is no longer the person they remember. The captain orders the knight to hold back and fight using only his left hand. No mana is allowed, since everyone assumes the young master cannot endure a proper match. Aaron's pride is immediately wounded, so he tells the knight to face him with everything he has. Then he shouts for the match to begin and charges forward. His first burst of speed is so sharp that the knight barely avoids a dangerous strike. The onlookers are utterly baffled by the young master's sudden performance. Fly barely manages to block and is driven backward. He keeps retreating and panic quickly begins to show. This was supposed to be nothing more than a sheltered rich boy. But why is he the one being pushed so badly? A burst of aura erupts in the center of the arena. Fly collapses onto the ground. Aaron simply remains standing there asking whether he won. The training ground that had been laughing moments earlier falls completely silent. Everyone is left wondering how such a thing could even happen. In this life, the boy has sworn that he will show no mercy. His previous life, after all, was nothing close to easy or pleasant. To begin with, he had no talent whatsoever. Even though both his grandfather and his father were outstanding knights in their own right, he could only climb as far as the 3rd class. Because of that, everyone mocked him, and they had plenty of reason. In truth, he really had been weak, useless, and painfully incapable. As if that were not enough, the only truly valuable thing he possessed was the interdimensional transaction book. Its purpose is fairly obvious from the name, but the exact details can wait until later. The problem was, once he chose to use it to become a capable lord after failing as a knight, his brother Kieran sent thugs after him, took the book, and left him with no way out. However, one of the few items he had purchased through the book was the bookmark of wishes. Unfortunately, the attackers kept forcing him to recover with potions, dragging his suffering out for hours. They did it because Kieran had ordered them to make sure the boy endured as much misery as possible. But just as everything slipped into darkness, the bookmark took effect, and he opened his eyes back in the past. At first, he could not understand what was happening. He found himself looking at his old room and his former maid, yet none of that mattered most. What truly mattered was that his eyes now burned with an eerie blue flame, and somehow, he could see the interdimensional trading book even without the physical book present. Notification appears, asking whether he wants to continue logging in, but it only offers a confirm button with no option to cancel. He wonders why there is no way to back out of it. Still, he presses the button, and the system begins to load. His information appears on the screen, and that is when he notices something. Somehow, he has 10 coins, making him suspect they may have carried over from his past life account. But that theory feels strange, since his level did not transfer with them. He does the classic thoughtful chin grab, considering whether the coins might have been given at random. Then he decides not to overthink it and test the system anyway. Our boy opens a chest packed with coins, relieved that this time everything is finally there. Aaron keeps his eyes fixed on the chest, silently vowing that he will never be tricked like a fool again. This time he plans to use every bit of it wisely. He opens the interdimensional trading system and begins reviewing the current exchange rates. The book then produces a set of scales. Coins materialize and a notification appears, telling him he has received 30 coins. Aaron is stunned, since he had only expected around 25. That is when the true worth of gold finally dawns on him. He starts to understand how the system works. Market values shift constantly, and the same goods can be worth completely different amounts in different worlds. So the obvious strategy is to buy cheap and sell high, though the exchange clearly is not easy to fool. Charges taxes and commissions, and the lower your transaction level is, the more limits are placed on you. Aaron realizes he has fallen into a frustrating deadlock. To raise his level, he has to produce results. But to produce those results, he first needs a higher level. At level 0, finding worthwhile products is almost impossible. Then a notification arrives from a seller named Hearthstone. It is about a batch of mana stones. Aaron notices that the seller's name is glowing red. He opens the seller's profile, thinking that he has used this system for 3 years already. Yet he has never seen a warning like this before. Hearthstone is trying to sell him mana stones. He insists his prices match the market and claims others are selling them for even more. But another information window appears, exposing that the scammer is asking for double the real market price. Aaron smirks, realizing the man truly thought he could unload stones at absurd prices. What a shameless fraud. The two begin arguing in the chat, with Aaron threatening to report him to the exchange. And it is obvious that Hearthstone is starting to panic because the information window exposes that he exploits forced labor labor in his mines and will do almost anything for profit. Once Aaron threatens to submit a formal complaint, the man instantly backs down and offers the stones for half price. Our boy even thinks about pushing the bargain further. In the end, though, he decides to accept the offer. The transaction is completed, but only 22.5 coins are taken. Instead of the expected 25, Aaron is completely baffled. Then he realizes a cashback effect has activated. Now he is even more shocked, standing there and wondering if he has somehow become a VIP. But he quickly shakes off the idea, since becoming a VIP is extremely difficult and there is just no way. After that, he turns his focus back to the mana stones. He tests them and confirms they are genuine. So he begins studying his family's special breathing technique in earnest. It requires both a strong body and a large amount of mana. Aaron had pushed himself relentlessly through sword training to build the physical foundation. Then he used the mana stones he purchased to meet the second requirement. These were the two conditions needed to unlock the steel breathing technique. Back in the present, our boy feels proud of his win and even tries a few poses, but people still are not convinced. They begin wondering whether the whole thing was staged, which immediately bruises his pride. So he turns toward another knight named Mihail and challenges him to a match. Before Mihail can refuse, a girl named Karen walks over. She is the eldest daughter of Leviton Steelguard. She suggests they settle it with a bare-handed duel instead of a mana contest. The captain grows nervous, since Mihail is a 6th rank knight who can fight like a 5th rank warrior in normal combat. On top of that, he is tall with long arms, giving him the reach advantage. The captain doubts the young master can win, but allows it anyway. Then Aaron suddenly charges forward. Two clash directly, turning the match into a rough bare-handed fight. Everyone watches in disbelief, because just a few days earlier, this kid looked as if the wind could knock him over. Meanwhile, our boy completely overwhelms his opponent. He keeps pressing in with quick punches from both sides. Mihail barely gets a chance to respond before the match is already decided. Seeing the result, the crowd bursts into cheers. They start chanting the young master's name while Aaron simply stands there, perfectly calm. Karen steps closer and gently touches his face. She tells him she is sorry for looking down on him all this time, and says she is truly proud of him. Karen is honestly terrifying in a fight, the kind of girl who would have mastered the breathing of steel technique long ago. That is, if her family did not have that ridiculous rule saying only men were allowed to learn it. Their father, Leviton, is genuinely frustrated that Karen was born female, because she is clearly the most gifted child in the family. But no, the sacred family art is reserved for the sons. Still, being a girl never stopped Karen from becoming formidable. So when Karen sees Aaron seriously pushing himself through those secret training sessions, she understands. She knows exactly how much effort it takes. Overcome with emotion, she begins gently patting his head. She apologizes for judging him like everyone else when, as his older sister, she should have stood beside him. At the same time, Aaron is drowning in guilt, because the only reason he trained that hard was to impress her. More than anyone else, Karen was the only sibling who was not completely unfair and judgmental toward him. So he had been counting on her to notice his new him first and finally acknowledge him. Inwardly, he apologizes to her, and inside his mind, he starts bracing himself for what is about to happen next. Later, during dinner, the entire family gathers around the table. Their father keeps praising the meal, saying how delicious everything tastes. Karen explains that she had the kitchen prepare something extra special because Aaron will soon leave for the academy. Their other brother, Leviton, stares at Aaron as if wondering when he suddenly became so grown up. Meanwhile, Aaron is cheering himself on inside, convinced his plan worked. He got Karen's attention, and now she is already looking after him. Then his father mentions that Karen told him Aaron defeated a knight during training, and Aaron is internally celebrating because the plan clearly succeeded. He realizes this is his chance to finally make his father notice him. He acts modest and says it was nothing impressive, just a small sparring match. But then his brother Kieran cuts in, pointing out that the knight was only 6th rank and did not even use magic. Aaron sits there tense, wondering why this guy had to ruin his moment. Then another save comes in, reminding everyone that Kieran only reached 5th rank at 18, while Aaron is still 16, leaving Kieran trying to argue back. Their father cuts him off and calls Aaron a fine young man. He adds that Aaron's grandfather first entered battle at around the same age. After that, Leviton reaches out his hand for a handshake. The moment Aaron accepts it, he understands what is happening. This is not a normal handshake, but a combat-style test of each other's mana strength. Aaron starts to panic, knowing he has to impress his father. At the same time, he cannot reveal power beyond the 3rd rank, or everyone will become suspicious. His father closes his eyes and says Aaron has grown a lot. He had feared his youngest son would become useless, but now he can relax. Karen watches in barely contained fury as their father says Aaron will represent the family. He also admits that once Aaron enters the academy, he regrets not paying enough attention to his youngest until it was too late. Then his father makes a surprising offer as a gift for entering the academy, asking Aaron what he wants. Aaron is panicking inside, but on the outside he stays calm. He scratches his head and says there is one thing he has in mind. Then he quickly acts hesitant, saying it is probably asking for too much. His father tells him to speak freely and not worry, promising he will try to grant anything. Aaron keeps pretending to hesitate, saying he does not want to request something too big because he is sure he will be refused. Levedon is impressed, admitting he never knew his youngest could be this persuasive, and even offers to swear a mana oath. Karen suddenly rises and shouts for their father to stop, but it is already too late. Levedon has already begun a dramatic vow, placing a hand on his chest and swearing by Mana as the Steelguard family head that he will not break his promise, no matter Aaron's request. Aaron sits there thinking in a panic, what should he even say now? And he finally states his request. The scene cuts to Karen completely losing her composure. She follows their father and Aaron down the hallway, shouting that they cannot violate family tradition. She demands to know how anyone other than the family head could be allowed inside the treasury. Levedon explains that, technically, only the head of the family may enter. However, he once went there with his own father in the past. Karen argues that the situation was different, but her father simply asks whether she wants him to break his mana oath. With that, Karen has no choice but to step back. Levedon unlocks the treasury with a key and explains the conditions. Aaron may only enter the outer section, choose a single item, take as much time as he needs to decide. As Aaron looks inside, he thinks that at last, he is about to obtain the true book of dimensional transactions. He walks through the dark chamber, believing this book is the strongest tool for protecting his new life, and that no one else should possess it. He recalls that over the past century, only 2 people from Earth 1342 became traders, his grandfather and himself. Unlike in his previous life, when he discovered this book purely by chance, this time his special eyes let him see it clearly. That means it definitely isn't inside the secret storage. Everything he did, from pleasing his sister to catching his father's attention, had been for this exact opportunity. He needed to find the real book of dimensional deals and destroy it before anyone else could claim it. A few minutes later, Levedon is standing outside, waiting for him, and Aaron steps out, carrying a golden statue in his hands. His father glances from the statue to our boy, clearly unable to understand what he's thinking. He asks why Aaron chose that item out of everything inside. Sure, it represents a legendary hero, Lazakon, the warrior who once saved Navarro from the Empire. And yes, it is worth more than 1,000 gold coins. But honestly, that's just fast money, not anything truly special. Levedon feels deeply disappointed as he thinks it over. His son broke into the family treasury only to take something flashy and sell it for profit. But inside, Aaron is overflowing with relief, because his father has no clue what he truly came to do. Our boy explains that, in fact, this statue is the smartest choice for now. He can sell it, purchase a proper sword, gather mana stones, and still keep some money afterward. Levedon only scratches his head, saying Aaron is difficult to figure out. Still, he tells him to do as he likes, as long as he continues his training. Aaron lowers his head and says there is more than one road to success. And if he isn't blessed as a sword genius, then maybe becoming a merchant is his quickest path to strength. Deep down, Aaron is celebrating because he completely managed to fool his father. Now cut back to what really happened inside the treasury. Just moments earlier, Aaron was on the edge of panic. He was searching the shelves in a desperate hurry. He shoved books aside, wondering where it could possibly be. The book of dimensional transactions he came for was nowhere to be found. His eyes widened as the truth finally sank in. Either the book had been moved during the 17 years since his regression, or even worse, someone might already be using it right this moment. Even so, our boy tries hard to keep himself steady. Simply learning that it isn't here is still valuable information. So he quickly takes the first expensive item he notices, the golden figurine. After all, he figures it should still sell for a solid amount. The instant he touches the statue, notifications suddenly burst before his eyes, saying the automatic transaction is complete. His Eye of Insight skill had activated. A wave of notifications appears before him, displaying details about his cashback bonus status. Aaron realizes that all his merchant privileges from his previous life are still active. His jaw nearly drops when he sees a VIP count appear. He can only think that this should be completely impossible. Even so, he clicks it, and the screen immediately brightens. It shows maxed out skills, 0 commission fees, full seller information, price control options, and automatic discounts. In simple terms, his trading system is basically running in God mode. 3 versions of himself are practically racing around inside his head, cheering with excitement as he realizes these abilities could change everything. And now his revenge plan has been pushed forward at full speed. Back in the present, he rushes off ready to begin by turning this golden knight into money. The statue is placed onto a transaction scale. At once, our boy's gaze turns sharp. They're trying to offer him only 115 coins, even though it's worth at least 140 to 150. He activates his VIP skill, Flow Recognition. Once he sees the real value, he nearly loses his composure. He demands to know where those market rats hid the 40 coins they stole from him. After all, those 40 coins equal 400 gold, which they were clearly trying to take for themselves. He drops onto his bed, thinking how convenient it is to trade while lying down. It was something he never imagined possible in his previous life. Meanwhile, the notifications keep appearing: deal completed, skill bonus coins gained, and level progress increased. Aaron notices that the statue is selling unbelievably fast. He begins searching for his next purchase and decides to focus on mana stones, since they are reliable investments. Then a suspicious hooded seller appears, promoting cheap mana stones that are supposedly high quality. Aaron studies the listing and immediately starts calculating, because he knows exactly who this person is. So without the slightest hesitation, he sends a message directly calling him a scammer. Hearthstone receives a notification, checks who contacted him, and instantly starts insulting the man's entire family line in his head. Then he sees the profile picture and goes completely still. It is the same guy who squeezed a discount out of him before, and now he has the nerve to message again, asking for more mana stones at that old cheap rate. Hearthstone panics and tries to protect his pride, stammering some nonsense about that price being a one-time exception and the market having changed. But Aaron does not fall for it. He tells him to stop lying, then calmly reminds Hearthstone that their whole chat history is saved, screenshots included. Hearthstone glares at the screen, quietly curses Aaron with every insult he knows, and then starts doing the numbers in his head. He has been taking losses for days and still has not sold anything, so selling cheaply to this guy suddenly does not sound so terrible. He lets out a sigh, pushes down his pride, and gives in. He offers 25 medium stones and 20 small ones, and Aaron accepts right away. Our boy spends 270 coins, and gets a little over 40 coins back through cashback. Then he immediately turns around and lists everything for resale, pricing medium stones at 12 coins and small ones at 3. He relaxes in his room, thinking it really is just buy low and sell high, then takes a nap like he did not just wreck the market. The scene cuts to Hearthstone refreshing the marketplace, and the moment he sees Aaron's listings, the man nearly loses it. He pounds his desk, shouting about how he gave that ungrateful guy a discount, only to be repaid like this. Meanwhile, Aaron wakes up from his peaceful nap. He is greeted by a wall of furious messages. But there is one important thing. In his past life, our boy spent 3 years doing cross-dimensional business, and one lesson was carved deeply into him: never let another person's anger interfere with your earnings. So instead of apologizing or backing off, Aaron replies with the strangest, most formal insult parade possible, calling Hearthstone a wicked and shady entrepreneur, while asking why he thinks he can yell at customers. Hearthstone just stares at the screen, completely speechless. He wonders if this guy is actually out of his mind. He tells Aaron to stop, now genuinely convinced that he is dealing with someone unhinged. But the notifications keep coming in. Aaron's stones are selling at an unbelievable speed, so our boy finally offers a way out, saying Hearthstone can buy at market price and end the whole argument. Hearthstone complains, calls the offer rude, and refuses out of pure spite at this point. Aaron simply thinks that this guy is way too sensitive. Then he uses the one trick that can break open any merchant's pride. He flatters Hearthstone as an important figure, saying someone of his status should never let petty emotions block his profits. Surprisingly, it actually works. Hearthstone takes a deep breath, reminds himself that business is business, and asks for the market price like a changed man. Once the deal is confirmed, and even more stones enter his inventory, Aaron immediately puts up another listing at an even lower price. When Hearthstone sees it, he is absolutely furious and once again messages Aaron, demanding to know if he has lost his mind. He asks whether Aaron is secretly some wealthy heir, because only an idiot or a rich man would sell at prices that low. Aaron sets down his teacup, gives a smug little smile, and admits to himself from a normal view. Hearthstone has a point, but Aaron is not an ordinary buyer. As a VIP member, his commission fees have been reduced to almost nothing. His spending privileges rise by 30%, letting him undercut nearly everyone in the market, while still turning a profit. He glances over the mana stone trade restrictions, and notices just how ridiculously loose they are. He cuts Hearthstone off in the middle of his rant and simply logs out. The man has real work waiting for him. He lowers himself to the floor, sits cross-legged on the carpet, and begins drawing mana straight into his body. His thoughts drift toward the challenges waiting for him later. Aaron closes his eyes. He knows perfectly well that if he stops growing now, he will not survive what is coming. He splashes icy water over his face, then strikes the wall beside the sink to force himself fully awake, and decides that the time has come. Lowers the price of medium mana stones to 9.5 coins. Transaction alerts start pouring in nonstop, like a machine that will not stop paying out. Then the system rings out, announcing a level up and granting access to the level 1 trading channel. Aaron looks at the blinking notification and quietly thinks to himself, in his previous life, reaching this same point had taken him an entire year. This time it took only 8 days. He checks his progress screen and sees that he has maxed out the trade limit. Every single system requirement has been completed. Now he is ready to advance, so he clicks accept. And just like that, system level 1 unlocks as a congratulatory message flashes across the screen. Aaron studies the notification and thinks to himself, alright, this is where things truly begin. Then he checks his new skills, and the first one immediately shocks him. The sponge inside his head has activated, and it is absurdly powerful. It allows him to absorb information, events, and skills with incredible speed, yet even that is not the strangest part.
Now that he has reached System 1, everything has shifted completely.
In this world, even delivery workers, restaurant staff, and random nobodies can train their way up to night-level power, making the system's potential almost ridiculous. Before he can fully make sense of it all, some odd person posts a chaotic message in the chat, rambling about receiving a god's favor without the means to express it, then asks for offers. Aaron assumes it is a scam, and the chat agrees until the guy explains he only needs a sword for martial arts. Aaron covers his face in disbelief. Of course that was what he meant. Then another notification appears. This one makes him pause for real, because the sponge inside his head has suddenly maxed itself out, reducing side effects and increasing absorption speed by 300%. He sits there completely stunned, wondering why everything is leveling up so insanely fast. He tries to activate Eye of Insight, hoping to understand why his privileges were unlocked, but the skill simply refuses to respond. He glares at the empty screen, deeply unimpressed, thinking the exchange center staff are useless. If they cannot even explain why his privileges appeared, he decides not to dwell on it, assumes the level up triggered everything automatically, and moves on. Then his screen suddenly fills with a flood of notifications. Special scroll sales, limited no commission periods, and huge discount alerts appear one after another. The entire catalog seems to pour across his display all at once. Aaron blinks at the mess, but quickly starts calculating. He realizes none of these offers are actually useful to him. The special sales still follow market prices, so they remain costly, while no commission periods mean nothing, because his current privileges already handle that. And a direct message arrives from the exchange center itself. It congratulates him for reaching System 1 and drops 3 coupons into his account. At first, he is unimpressed, assuming they have given him worthless rewards. But once he checks them properly, his eyes widen because the gifts are outrageously valuable. The first reward is a Dantian image carrying 3 years of internal energy, along with 500 coins. He raises an eyebrow, wondering whether that is supposed to be impressive, then keeps reading and finds a third reward called Maximum Body and Sword Stealth. Before he can fully understand what it means, the sponge skill swallows the entire coupon and absorbs it instantly. Aaron stares forward in silence for a moment. Then he nearly loses his composure, realizing just how enormous that event truly was. He pieces it together. Martial arts in his old world used mana as fuel, while this system relies on internal energy. The sword techniques he obtained from the system are not merely stronger, they feel almost beyond anything from his own world, as if they came from an entirely different dimension. Even better, this new internal energy can work together with his existing mana core. All he needs to do is open his meridians, and things will truly take off. He places a hand over his chest, stunned by the idea that a Dantian and a sword technique could be absorbed so instantly. At that moment, he realizes the system is far too powerful. As long as he has coins, he can purchase almost anything and grow absurdly strong. Speaking of coins, the system just gave him 500 as a gift, so he decides to spend them right away. With his preparations finished, Aaron chooses his first target and heads to meet the spatial exchange merchant named Hyoja. The merchant works from a cave that looks ridiculously dramatic, complete with glowing red depths and an ominous atmosphere. The moment Hyoja sees Aaron, he switches into the most exaggerated customer service tone imaginable, loudly praising how much he adores this customer. Aaron bluntly tells him to stop, because the act feels seriously unsettling. The merchant, without a hint of shame, says to think of it as affection for humanity. Aaron gets straight to the point and asks to see the martial arts scroll inventory. The merchant smiles and scans him quickly, noting a first-level merchant with decent physical ability. He can tell Aaron comes from a lower system and silently labels him as small fry. Still, he remains polite, because even small customers can bring in profit. And he begins listing the items in his catalog. Triple sword technique, sword balance technique, crouching tiger technique, body elimination, internal cultivation, piercing striking, and the rest of the menu. But Aaron has already seen through the whole scheme, because he remembers this merchant's business style from long ago. Hyoja specifically targets System 0 nobodies who are desperate to enter a higher system. These are people who spent their lives weak, then throw every coin they own at anything that sounds legendary. The triple sword technique sounds endless and divine, right? In reality, it is just 3 basic moves: stab, cut, and block. That is all. Aaron crouches down, looks at the floor, and flatly says he has fallen for this exact pitch before. He looks back up up with a sarcastic grin and asks whether mastering it will truly make him the strongest in the world. The merchant, completely shameless, doubles down and says one technique would not be enough anyway. Then he offers personal advice for only 20 extra coins. Eren looks ahead and says, "Fine, I will trust you, Hackall." The scene shifts to Miriam's fifth world at the Mountain Bamboo sect, where one subordinate rushes in shouting for the leader. Juxiang whips his head around, instantly alert as he demands to know what happened. The moment Hackall's name is brought up, Juxiang's mood changes completely. He strikes the table hard enough to crack it, demanding the source and asking if they are certain. The spatial exchange manager immediately turns around. Then he repeats Eren's messages exactly as they were sent. Juxiang studies every word with careful attention. Some unknown person from a lower system somehow has information about their sect's most guarded secrets. He asks whether they will reward him for dealing with their enemy, and warns that if they doubt him, he will simply let Hackall go. Juxiang's first reaction is that this must be a con artist trying to trick them, but then Eren tells him to verify the information himself. Juxiang checks it right away and realizes, wait, this person is from the lower system. Our boy nods, then throws out the real question. How else could he know something as classified as the Bamboo Mountain's secret technique? Once Juxiang hears that, he falls completely silent, because it means this kid must have received that information straight from Hackall. After confirming the claim is real, Juxiang immediately asks if that man is connected to dimensional trading. Eren understands the situation perfectly, compliments Juxiang's quick thinking, and explains that for a fugitive like Hackall, the dimensional deal book is basically his lifeline. 2 seconds later, 200 coins are deposited into Eren's account. He is so shocked that he nearly spits out his drink. Meanwhile, in the chat, Juxiang is urgently asking whether that amount is enough. He is practically pleading for Eren to understand how desperate their situation is. Eren just looks at the screen and thinks to himself, "Man, I only wanted to get my 20 coins back. That was all." He glances at the merchant's grim smile and thinks Hackall will never realize those 20 coins marked the beginning of his downfall. But from the start, Hackall was never Eren's true target. Eren shifts his gaze back to the screen. He thinks he could honestly let that man go, since Hackall was not the one he was really after. The person he truly wants is Sokyun, a first-class martial arts scroll seller and System 2 operator. Eren blames Sokyun personally for the ruin of the Stilgard family in his previous life, back when he searched for scrolls to continue his grandfather's legacy. Sokyun had sold him the Bookmark of Desires, a cursed purchase that triggered the disaster that took everything from him. Just thinking about it makes Eren's red eye turn cold. He tightens his fist and quietly vows to return every bit of shame and pain he has carried. Then he opens a new chat, sends a greeting, and Sokyun answers almost immediately, offering diploma papers and books of change while asking what he wants. Eren casually says Hackall introduced them, and Seokyun pauses for a moment, realizing this person may already know too much about their operation. Still, he keeps his tone smooth and maintains the act. A system notice appears on Eren's screen, warning that this scam librarian steals scrolls and sells them to beginners at outrageous prices. Seokyun then casually asks whether that fool Hackall is still tricking people with the triple technique scam. He even calls anyone who falls for it a complete idiot. Eren laughs inwardly, thinking that particular insult hits a little too close to home, but he stays calm, asks whether Sokyun is really any better than Hackall. Sokyun lightly scolds him for making that comparison. Eren apologizes with a smile that never reaches his eyes, and he asks to see the available sword techniques. So Sokyun tries to sell Eren the Plum Blossom technique for 35 coins, even though its real market value is only 15 coins. In other words, he is attempting a blatant scam while acting friendly. Eren has seen worse frauds before, but he still mentally notes the sheer nerve of it. Even so, he buys it without complaint, choosing a small loss now to build trust and set up proper revenge later. Seokyun believes he has just found a wealthy fool. He immediately offers friendship and welcomes Eren as a prized customer. Eren accepts the friend request with a cold expression. In his mind, he already knows he has caught him and begins planning the next step. His scheming is suddenly interrupted. Ezel knocks on the door and then steps inside. The moment she enters, she freezes completely. Eren had been so absorbed in planning his revenge that a dangerous pressure had leaked out around him. He quickly apologizes and tries to act as if nothing happened. Ezel stammers as she reminds him that he missed morning training. Then she becomes extremely embarrassed because she accidentally notices a glimpse of exposed skin through his shirt. He has to turn his face away, clearly blushing. Eren quietly takes note of that reaction. If this is how he responds before reaching his full potential, Eren can already tell things are going to come tiring very quickly. Just as he is trying to make sense of everything, Ezel asks if something is bothering him since he skipped training today, and also had some matter with young Master Kieran that morning. The moment she says that, Eren immediately recalls what happened earlier. Eren had been training quietly at the grounds when his older brother Kieran suddenly appeared. Kieran asked what he was doing there. Aaron looks at him as if to say, bro, what are you doing here? You never train with these knights because you act like you are above them. But Kieran casually asks where Aaron got that idea. Aaron basically thinks anyone with working eyes could figure it out. That is when Kieran snaps and asks if he has completely lost his mind. Aaron instantly realizes he pushed too far. He gives an awkward half apology, says he was only joking, and tries to shift the topic by asking why Kieran came. But no, this overly sensitive guy is not about to let it go. Without warning, Kieran swings at Aaron, saying he is going to teach him some manners. Aaron's eyes widen, because he definitely did not expect a fight before breakfast. He dodges while thinking that his brother has always been sensitive, but this is far beyond normal. Kieran turns into another attack, and Aaron quickly ducks beneath it. He is genuinely confused about why his brother is this worked up, and Kieran tells him not to start acting arrogant, all because their father praised him one time. The next instant, flames suddenly flare around Aaron's hand. The brothers' fists crash together. Kieran is thrown backward with shocking force. He stares at Aaron like he has just seen reality break in front of him. He wonders where that strength came from, since this kid was supposed to be nothing more than a weak 5th rank knight. It only makes him angrier, so he activates his aura. It is the mana enhancement technique that only 2nd rank knights and above can use. Aaron sees it and panics inwardly, wondering whether his brother has completely lost control and why he is taking things this far. After all, Aaron has been pretending to be a weak 5th rank knight the entire time, so he cannot casually reveal his aura in front of everyone without exposing himself. But now his reckless brother has crossed the line and is attacking with full force, leaving Aaron unable to keep acting weak without getting seriously hurt. And Aaron has absolutely no desire to end up recovering in bed, so he decides to stop holding back and settle this today. Kieran charges in with his aura technique, and Aaron instantly answers with the stone-destroying strike. Kieran's face turns pale as he is knocked into the air. He is completely stunned, unable to understand how his little brother became this strong. Aaron lands with effortless style, one arm swept behind him. He looks down at his defeated brother. Kieran is on the ground, shouting in disbelief and demanding to know how Aaron became so powerful. Aaron smiles and slowly approaches him. He says that while their relationship has never been great, even Kieran should admit he went too far this time. Kieran forces himself up and immediately demands answers, asking if Aaron gained that power from the secret vault and what he took from inside. Aaron's eyes widen as everything suddenly makes sense. Kieran is furious because Aaron entered the secret vault, a place Kieran believes he should have accessed already. Kieran starts ranting that only he and their father have ever gone inside, demanding to know how Aaron managed to enter. Then Aaron realizes something important. His brother does not even know the vault has separate areas, with both an outer vault and an inner vault. More importantly, their father likely knows nothing about the dimensional transaction book Aaron found, and Kieran definitely never used it in Aaron's previous life. Aaron thinks the odds of someone actually discovering that book are extremely low, since he died before ever reaching the inner vault. The book is either hidden there or does not exist in this timeline at all. He decides that entering the inner vault will be much harder than reaching the outer one, but he needs to find a way quickly. Back in the present, Aaron still has not answered and is staring at the wall like he froze in place, so Ezel grows worried and calls his name. Aaron keeps his composure, smiles, and says nothing serious happened. He only asked his brother to show his aura, but things got out of hand. Ezel asks whether he is injured and offers to wrap his wounds. She blushes, thinking the young master has grown up now and may no longer want her fussing over him. Aaron thanks her but says he is fine, while thinking he can simply take a healing pill later. He is also relieved that his brother did not fully lose control, then tells Ezel not to worry and to get some rest. She bows respectfully and leaves. Aaron turns away, thinking he must find a way into the inner vault before he enters the academy. Time is running out, and then his eyes narrow as he remembers that the incident is about to happen soon, but this time he already has a plan to handle it. Meanwhile, in the blonde fool's room, he is completely losing it, insisting there is no way he could have lost to his useless brother. His sister Karen watches as he spirals out of control. She bites her lip, quietly realizing that her brother had been utterly overpowered. Kieran slams his fist on the table, declaring that Aaron must be hiding something after pretending to be weak all this time. Karen shakes her head and says everyone already knows that. Kieran thought Aaron was a harmless bear, but he turned out to be a clever fox. Kieran insists that Aaron was not even using his full power and had clearly been holding back. Aaron suggests that maybe he is simply a stronger fox than they expected. Kieran rejects that, saying Aaron might actually be a tiger. They agree that they need to uncover what Aaron is hiding and what he intends to do next. Karen says she will take care of it. He plans to dig up every detail behind his secret. The scene shifts to a secret Merchant Alliance meeting, where everyone is openly blaming our boy. They complain that this guy is ruining all of their businesses, and they need a way to deal with both him and Hearthstone. One leading the meeting is that same guy himself. He has a very personal grudge against our boy. Then the scene returns to Aaron. He is relaxing in his room, completely focused on enjoying his dinner. Suddenly, the system floods him with notifications. When he checks, he notices mana stone prices are dropping sharply, just as he predicted. The real problem is that the market is changing much faster than he expected. The issue started because he listed his mana stones 1 coin cheaper than everyone else. That move sent the other merchants into chaos and wrecked the average price. But Aaron is not worried at all. Takes a sip and shrugs, knowing his VIP privileges still let him make money either way. His inventory appears, showing 34 items fully maxed out, while his balance sits at 1,002 coins. He calculates it calmly, realizing medium stones can still bring profit even at a low price. But selling small stones for under 2 coins feels pointless and not worth his effort, so he decides to focus on selling the medium stones for now, since they can still earn him something. Besides, he needs to raise his system rank. Only then can he get revenge on that guy Sokyun. The scene cuts to Jinsheng arriving with a huge catalog, presenting it like some priceless royal treasure. It lists martial arts by strength, skills, endurance, agility, and every other major category. Aaron glances through it and instantly knows this is not cheap street market junk. It is expensive premium material, though still not enough to impress him. So Jinsheng brings out his strongest offer, a unique primary skill from the Thousand Swords library. A red screen appears, explaining the details of this legendary skill set. Aaron's eyes widen not because the skill is amazing, but because the price is unbelievably high. This sect is clearly no joke, with influence that makes even the mountain bamboo sect look insignificant. A few hours later, our boy is speaking with Sokyun while still acting like a foolish, gullible System Zero user. The moment Sokyun receives his message, he rushes over with a scroll, saying he has been waiting all day for this. Then he hands the requested items over to our boy. Aaron is honestly a little surprised they found them, and quietly shocked that they managed it so quickly. The man with glasses proudly says the whole team worked hard, because customers should never be kept waiting. Aaron smiles and immediately asks for one more favor. He spins a story about serving a wealthy martial arts fanatic who will never be satisfied with ordinary mid-tier books. Sokyun believes every word, nodding along and eager to help. Aaron plays him perfectly, asking to see something better than a pile of basic skills. Sokyun fails to notice the trap and starts showing him the Thousand Swords unique skill again. Aaron pretends to think it over carefully. Then he mentions some third or fourth world martial arts. Sokyun decides to take the bait. Aaron's eyes practically light up because the trap has finally snapped shut. He casually asks for an advance payment as if it is nothing, and just like that, 200 coins land in his account. The agreement is set to close in 5 days. All the while, Sokyun keeps thinking they are alone in this library section, and he absolutely cannot afford to get caught. A few hours earlier, Aaron is still chatting with Jinsheng, and since the conversation is going well, he finally brings up the question he truly wanted answered. Aaron casually asks what would happen if someone tried to sell a unique primary skill somewhere else. Jinsheng laughs as if the question is ridiculous, asking what kind of reckless fool would dare steal from the divine swords. Sokyun hides somewhere behind a shelf while Jinsheng swears that anyone who tries such a thing will regret it deeply. Aaron smiles, knowing that step 1 is complete. Now he only needs to find 1,000 coins, which is the one small problem still left. After setting up a plan to make someone's life miserable, our boy decides to step outside for a short walk. Later, he is seated outside a yellow building. He scrolls through the screens, watching his supply of medium mana stones quickly run dry. People keep sending messages to buy stones, only to vanish afterward or bluntly refuse to sell him anything. Our boy simply keeps tapping at his screen. The messages coming in grow more hostile by the minute. They even tell him to throw his compassion away. Aaron mutters that people are much more aggressive than he expected, and he notices 2 girls nearby, though he cannot see them clearly, so he decides to move a little closer. But all of a sudden, he hears a sharp smack. Someone has just struck the girl across the face. He freezes when he realizes the girl is Izel, standing there with a red mark spreading across her cheek. Aaron still has her hand raised as she demands to know what Izel is hiding. Izel is crying, yet she refuses to say anything. She holds her cheek and stammers that she is only an ordinary maid serving the young master. Then Garen strikes her again, saying she will give her one more chance to reveal what Aaron is hiding, or her face will need covering. And even as she says it, Karen's hand is already swinging again. That is when Aaron walks up and asks why Izel is still standing there. Karen barely looks at him before asking what he is doing here. Aaron answers by asking what she thinks she is doing to his maid. Aaron places her hands on her hips and says, with a condescending tone, that Izel's work has been awful lately, so she is correcting her. Then she lifts her hand once more, acting as if she is doing Aaron a favor by disciplining his servant for him. Hazel's eyes widen in fear. She squeezes them shut, bracing herself for what is coming. But the hand suddenly stops, frozen right beside her cheek. Aaron catches his sister's wrist in mid-swing and tells her that if she has complaints about the maid, she can bring them to him directly. Karen narrows her eyes and tells him to let go, but Aaron continues speaking over her without hesitation. Then he pushes her back toward a tree and tells her to stay away from him. She falls to the ground and immediately starts manipulating him, asking what some insignificant servant could possibly mean to him. Aaron tells her not to lay a hand on his people and orders her to apologize. Ezel's eyes widen in disbelief, unable to believe he is truly standing up for her. Then Karen pulls an outrageous move. She strikes her own cheeks and asks whether he really wants to act so arrogantly. After all, who will their father believe if she appears with marks and says her brother hurt her? She looks down at Ezel and says she wants to see the maid's face when she claims Aaron raised his hand against her. Marks are already forming on Karen's face from her own actions, and Aaron says she always finds a way to sink even lower. He steps nearer and tells her she will remember this lesson for good. Karen's mouth falls open as she insists she has nothing to do with whatever he is about to accuse her of. But Aaron looks down at her and says, so now she is showing her teeth. Is she planning to run to their father and claim her brother hurt her? We get a close-up of her clenched teeth as she panics inside, wondering how he discovered that plan. Still on the ground, she suddenly changes her approach and admits she is at fault. With her hands clasped, she promises it will never happen again. Aaron turns toward Ezel and asks if she is all right. She breaks down in tears, saying she does not deserve this and should not be protected so strongly. His hand tightens into a fist as he tells her she is one of his people. His expression hardens, and he says that if anyone touches his people, he will not forgive them, even if it is the Emperor himself. Aaron remains seated there, listening to everything while her thoughts race wildly. With their backs turned to her, Aaron tells Ezel that she deserves everything he is giving her. Aaron struggles to understand how her brother changed from a pushover into someone so fiercely protective, and none of it fits her scheming mind. A few days later, Hearthstone is smoking and reading through the market conversations. He is trying to figure out where our boy is getting so many mana stones. Frustrated, he grabs his head in both hands. Suddenly, someone called the stone seller sends a message, saying he believes someone urgently needs coins right now. Hearthstone stares at the message. He wonders how this guy is always online, but since he has no idea who he is, he taps on the profile. Then all the information appears, showing that he is from a human race server with system level 1. Then the stone seller sends another message, explaining that sometimes 10 coins today are more valuable than 100 coins later. Hearthstone reads it and nods, understanding the logic since he has also made desperate bargains when he needed money fast. But his expression turns serious as he says this kind of seller is disrupting the entire market structure. The scene shifts to Hearthstone seated at a table, asking what exactly is being offered. The stone seller answers that they have two possible choices. The first option is to buy up everything before the troublemaker can reach it. Hearthstone immediately rejects that, saying it is impossible, and demanding another plan. The stone seller lets out a sigh and says fine. The second option is to force mana stone prices down even further themselves. Since the first plan was far too unrealistic, they chose the second one, and just like that, a merchant war began. A few days later, the scene cuts back to Aaron as a screen appears beside him. It shows the price of medium mana stones shifting in real time. He covers his mouth and mutters that a full-scale price war is beginning, which means he is about to become much busier. Hearthstone clenches his fists and demands an explanation, asking if he was not promised a guaranteed result. The shadowy man replies that he does not remember making any such promise. He only said they needed to lower prices to stop the troublemaker from buying every stone. Hearthstone grips his head, saying the man refuses to stop selling stones, and their arguments no longer sound convincing. But the stone seller could not care less and lets Hearthstone criticize him all he wants. His predictions were wrong, and that is all there is to it. Hearthstone frowns and asks if he is truly planning to yield under this offender's pressure. The shadowy man smiles and tells him to trust him. He says he has a hidden plan ready to put an end to this troublemaker. The stone seller keeps talking, claiming that the newcomer is starting to lose momentum. Hearthstone stands there thinking that is complete nonsense, because the guy has not shown the slightest sign of slowing down. The stone seller snaps back, asking if Hearthstone really failed to notice the change in the troublemaker's pattern, while Hearthstone admits he sees nothing. So the man explains that whenever they lowered the price by 1 coin, the other side responded by dropping it by 2. That cycle has continued for a while, but today's price is exactly the same as yesterday's. Hearthstone quickly checks the listing and nods, admitting it has not changed, though he wonders if the guy is saving one final dramatic move. Still, something feels off to him, and he sits there confused, wondering why someone would take such a huge risk only to suddenly back away. Then another message appears, and the stone seller says it should be obvious. He bluntly states that the guy is aiming to monopolize the entire mana stone trade. Hearthstone hears that, his eyes widen in complete shock. Hearthstone takes a deep breath and asks about sales limits, since that should be the main obstacle preventing any takeover. The man confidently places a hand on his chest and says he can hire assistants or build an alliance just like they did. Problem solved, simple as that. Hearthstone can only stare at him in disbelief. The stone seller keeps explaining, asking if that is not the exact reason this alliance was created in the first place. He lays out the larger plan: gather many sellers under a single organization, then control the mana stone market entirely and adjust prices however they please. Hearthstone starts sweating, admitting the man sounds as if he has discovered some grand secret of trading itself. He lifts a hand to his lips and murmurs, "Yeah, to be honest, the idea is actually quite convincing." Then the scene returns to our boy, with the expected twist waiting. So-called stone seller was Aaron's alternate account the entire time. He has been sitting before several screens, thinking that these special privileges are unbelievably powerful. He had been waiting for this union to form since he first began selling mana stones. And although it happened faster than expected, that works perfectly for him. This time he holds a max-level privilege that lower-tier system users do not even realize exists. He covers part of his face, thinking that information is everything in trading. Whoever possesses the information controls the market, so it makes perfect sense for information access to be a special privilege. A smile slowly forms because he joined this multi-union the instant it was created, and he knows exactly why. In general, two kinds of people enter an association like this during its earliest stage. First are the desperate ones who need fast money and cannot survive without immediate rewards. Then come the obsessive ones who panic when a random newcomer threatens the system they have already built. And then there is the third type, the complete fool named Hearthstone, who happens to chair the whole association. Their plan so far is to push Aaron completely out of the mana crystal business. Once he is gone, they can control every price as they please. Hearthstone sits there smiling at his own scheme, imagining it like the plan of some brilliant villain. He intends to guide this guy directly into the trap he has prepared. He thinks that once the competition begins, people will naturally defend themselves and protect their own territory. He folds his arms, planning to simply watch the clash between the troublemaker and the multi-union like a show. Then they will hire a third party to rush in and buy all the mana stones at rock-bottom prices. Rai Temburan rests his chin on his hand, thinking that buying low and selling high after prices rise is just basic trading, not some genius strategy. The scene moves to Karen's room, where she sits at her table with her head in her hands. She wonders when on earth her younger brother managed to figure all of this out. Her mind flashes back to the moment he approached her and said the company's name perfectly, without the slightest hesitation. Then a knock came at the door, and she instantly snapped, shouting that she had clearly said not to disturb her. Aaron calls from outside, telling her it is him and asking her to open the door, so she lets him in. Aaron enters like nothing is wrong, and she immediately asks why he came. He tells her he wants to have a conversation. She looks at him with a calm expression and asks what exactly he wants to discuss. He smiles, then hits her with the real topic, the company. She allows him inside, and the story behind the Damien firm begins to unfold. In simple terms, it is a company that supplies materials and goods to noble families. On the surface, it looks like a stable and respectable business, with nothing suspicious showing at first glance. Aaron knows the truth from his previous life. After he became a lord, the firm got close to Karen and used money to quietly control him, while he remained clueless. Back in the present, Karen asks how Aaron discovered her connection to the firm, and he simply shrugs as if it was obvious. He says it was not that hard to notice, because the trading company changed dramatically after she became involved in its operations. He closes his eyes and tells her to calm down, saying he is not here to expose her or create trouble. He only wants to understand where she stands. He explains that, as the youngest child, he realistically has little chance of inheriting anything from the estate. Still, as a son who mastered the breath of steel technique, he can at least earn a living as a swordsman or mercenary. But for her, things are different. As a woman in this medieval society, even that path is not truly open to her. Her hands tremble against her legs as she asks what he is trying to prove by saying all this. He answers by asking who approached whom first in this arrangement. She closes her eyes and admits they came to her first, offering her a favor before quickly including support for him in the deal as well. She understands that sooner or later, she will have to repay that favor somehow. Aaron frowns because he knows she is not being honest. A company that powerful would never approach a noble daughter for no reason at all. She raises her voice, asking if he is satisfied now that he has exposed her, and tells him to criticize her as much as he wants. He closes his eyes and says that is not the reason he came here. Aaron presses a hand to his forehead, trying to find the right way to make her actually trust him. She asks what he truly wants from her. If he did not come to shame her, he clasps his hands together and makes an offer she never expected. He suggests that they work together on this. A few hours later, the scene changes. Aaron has just finished negotiating with Karen, while she keeps promising that she will give him the full details later. When he says he will leave everything to her, the red-haired schemer silently watches him go with cold, calculating eyes. Aaron knows this whole agreement is built on lies and false trust, but for now it does not matter because he has more urgent problems. Karen returns to her room, while Aaron's he is now stuck cooperating with his suspicious sister whether he likes it or not. Then Karen's eyes suddenly glow red. A system window appears without warning. 800 coins have just arrived from the Bamboo Mountain sect. A grateful message comes with it, saying they can never repay his kindness. While Aaron thinks a thank you note with cash next time would work just as well. Then he checks the rewards and realizes these people were far more generous than expected. Inside the decorative box are 10 bamboo life tablets. He thinks that anyone with access to the dimensional transaction book is practically surrounded by money. Meanwhile, his competition is probably struggling badly because of Aaron's price manipulation. The other side had to lower their prices by 4 whole coins just to stay competitive. The blonde strategist flips through the transaction book, realizing Hearthstone is clearly trying to reduce losses, though the exact 4-coin drop feels oddly specific. Still, it hardly matters. Aaron has the advantage of information, and by changing his system nickname, he can buy whatever he wants without normal purchase limits. With the cashback feature, he is basically paying only about 3 coins per crystal, meaning he profits either way. He quickly checks his inventory and sees 480 medium mana crystals along with 10 bamboo tablets. A huge grin spreads across his face as he realizes he can easily grab another 500 crystals without much effort. He starts buying from Hearthstone's listings at an almost reckless pace. He eventually has to tell himself to stop, because getting rich this quickly is starting to feel absurd. By nightfall, the Damien mansion is packed with guards in every direction. A suspicious man in a raincoat arrives at the entrance. The guard moves to block him, but the man in the raincoat quietly covers the guard's mouth with his hand. When he pulls his hand away, his face is revealed to be covered in rough scars, giving him a frightening and hardened appearance. In a harsh, gravelly voice, the scarred man says he needs to see the manager, leaving the guard visibly shaken. Then another guard happens to pass by. He suddenly straightens in recognition and asks if this man is the great merchant Yulof. His attitude changes instantly as he politely invites Yulof inside, explaining that they have been expecting him, and that Miss Karen personally awaited his arrival. They escort the intimidating man inside, where Karen sits with her mug, clearly stunned that someone so frightening has actually come to their mansion. Damon steps forward with a professional air and introduces himself as the company's director. Meanwhile, Karen narrows her eyes at Yulof from across the room, trying to understand how Aaron could know such a scarred, intimidating man. She also wonders whether he truly sells mana crystals, or if this is just an elaborate prank Aaron arranged for everyone. Aaron glances back at her with a certain look, and she instantly remembers what happened earlier. Aaron had been grinning foolishly, while promising that a trustworthy, serious seller would definitely appear for the meeting. Once everyone sits at the negotiation table, Aaron asks how much they are willing to pay for each crystal. Damon studies a single crystal carefully in his hand. He says it is honestly difficult to judge the full quality from only one sample. Aaron does not hesitate for even a moment. He casually drops a huge bag packed with crystals onto the table, making it clear he expected that response and came fully prepared. An hour earlier, Aaron was celebrating in his room after saving plenty of coins, since affiliate market prices were outrageously expensive. Holding 2 mana crystals, he carefully lays out the details of his disguise plan. He needs a human skin mask so no one can recognize his real face. He also takes a voice-changing pill from his secret stash to alter his voice completely for the entire operation. Large bags of crystals are stacked behind him as he scrolls through his transaction book. He decides to buy 5 void pills as extra protection for the meeting. Since maintaining this disguise is ridiculously expensive, our boy plans to finish the meeting in exactly 30 minutes and leave right away. Back in the present, Damon picks up a crystal, examines it closely, and sincerely admires its impressive quality. Karen immediately demands 100 gold for each crystal without a second thought. Damon nearly chokes and says that price is far too high, countering with 90 gold while claiming nobody else would offer more. Aaron falls completely silent for a few seconds before his anger clearly shows. He rises from his chair and announces that he and Karen are leaving the meeting at once. He dramatically drapes a cloak over Karen's shoulders and speaks directly to Damon. He says he cannot trade with people who fail to recognize quality goods when they are right in front of them. With one hand still on Karen's shoulder, he prepares to walk out. Karen follows his act perfectly, saying she expected a more serious discussion from a company company that often trades with noble families. Inside, Aaron is cheering because his sister caught the signal and is supporting his move. As they head for the exit, Damon panics, slamming both fists on the table as his composure completely falls apart. Karen casually suggests that Aaron should probably sell to another company instead. At that moment, the scarred man calmly mentions that Kite Company is operating nearby. Damon practically leaps from his seat in desperation, begging them not to leave the mansion. He hurriedly agrees to the 100 gold price, nervously calling Aaron a very persistent negotiator. Then our boy stops and looks at him with a completely serious expression. He suddenly raises the demand to 120 gold per crystal instead of 100. Damon's face turns pale as he stammers, asking what Aaron just said. Aaron stares him down and asks if he failed to hear him, then repeats that he wants 120 gold pieces per crystal. Damon sits there in disbelief, realizing that if he buys the crystals at 120 gold, he will make no profit at all. He tries to haggle his way out of the situation, but our boy gives him a sharp look and asks if Damon really thought he came here without knowing the true prices. Damon starts sweating, clearly caught completely off guard. He leans back and invites them to sit again, saying he will consider the 120 gold offer. Aaron refuses to entertain it, saying there is nothing to consider, and starts heading straight for the door. That is when Damon fully gives in and accepts 120 gold, knowing he nearly ruined the deal. Karen stands there in complete shock. She is still trying to understand why the price suddenly jumped so far above their earlier offer. But before she can ask anything, Damon begins backtracking. Nervously rubbing the back of his head, he says he may be able to raise it to 130 gold for crystals of this quality. Aaron looks at him in disbelief, asking if he is joking when Damon claims he would only keep a 10 gold profit. Damon explains that after storage fees, labor, and other business costs, his real profit would only be 10 gold. That is, assuming Aaron can supply enough crystals to make the deal worthwhile. Then our boy casually drops a massive bag onto the table as if it weighs nothing. He holds up 3 fingers and announces that he has 300 crystals. Damon's face loses color as he realizes this might either be a scam or the best deal he has ever encountered. Sweat starts running down Damon's face as the reality of the situation sinks in. Mana crystal prices depend entirely on supply, meaning even wealth cannot buy what is not available. He stares at the bag, calculating quickly, and realizes that even a difficult negotiation is worth it for an opportunity this rare. Spreading his arms wide, he admits the deal would benefit the company, sounding as if he is trying to convince himself. Then he places his hands on the table and admits he expected little from this unknown seller, but Aaron has surpassed his expectations. Damon smiles and says Aaron's market knowledge is impressive despite his limited connections, though he also admits he has never heard of such a merchant before. Aaron senses the suspicion and directly asks if Damon finds it strange that an unknown seller suddenly has expensive crystals in bulk. The company head quickly backpedals, saying he would never suspect anyone connected to Miss Karen's recommendation. He claims he is only asking out of curiosity. Aaron looks toward his sister, expecting her to step in and end the questioning. But when he glances over, she seems even more curious about his identity than Damon is. Our boy can only think seriously? He lets out a heavy breath and tries to explain. But then his real voice begins slipping out and Aaron panics internally. He realizes that 30 minutes have already passed since he took the voice-changing pill. So he starts coughing on purpose throughout the office, wearing an irritated look to cover the change. Before anyone catches on, he quickly slips another pill into his mouth. Karen looks concerned and asks whether he is all right. Aaron brushes it off, covering his mouth as he apologizes and explains that his condition requires regular medicine. Damon rises and says it must be difficult for the seller to keep standing so long, then offers to pay him immediately. Our boy smiles and finally breathes out in relief. He has just escaped a very troublesome round of questions. They finally leave the company mansion, and Karen says she is glad they are alone now. Aaron follows her as she explains that the deal forced her to act like they were associates, but now she wants to know how he knows her younger brother. She stares at him seriously, and when Aaron says it is none of her business, she refuses to let it go, insisting she has a right to know. Aaron is completely caught off guard and turns to her, wondering what she even means by having a right to know. But once he sees her expression, he feels like he is staring straight at pure delusion. Karen snaps, asking whether he thinks Damon is some corner store and why they would buy mana crystals with a completely unknown origin. She lifts her chin proudly and says the only reason they bought the crystals at all was because she guaranteed them. Aaron stands there with his mouth almost open, unable to understand where all this confidence is coming from. Karen keeps talking, saying she is worried the company will hold her responsible if something goes wrong with the crystals. Our boy can only stare at her, because after everything she just said, his awkward reaction is impossible to hide. hide. Swegan's running down Aaron's face. Aaron presses him, demanding to know why he is working so hard to hide who he is. Aaron thinks she is as sharp as ever, maybe even too sharp for her own good. She demands that he explain everything. Then she raises a finger and declares that she has figured it out. This must be Aaron's trap. When he hears that, he bursts into laughter at her accusation. Aaron asks what exactly he finds so funny. Aaron scratches near his eye with a smile and asks what lunatic would spend 36,000 gold just to mess with her, as if he has money to throw away. Aaron studies him seriously, tilting her head while still suspicious. So he asks if she thinks he is a criminal selling stolen crystals. Standing across from her, he points out that getting 300 crystals would require something as extreme as robbing the royal vault. Karen admits she considered something like that, since she cannot imagine where else he could have obtained so many. That is when Aaron pats her on the head. He mentions that her brother Aaron told him about the fierce rivalry within the Steel Guard family. Aaron immediately tries to shove his hand away, asking if he has lost his mind for touching her like that. Aaron looks at her seriously and says that in situations like this, family is the only thing she can truly rely on. He is practically holding the startled Karen by the head while advising her to get along better with her brother. Bro is really out here manipulating his own family into liking him more. He turns away and tells Karen to wait in the carriage. He adds that he will send compensation through Aaron later. A few hours pass and night has already fallen. Aaron lies sprawled across his bed, quietly running the numbers in his head. He calculates that the medium mana stones sold for 120 gold, which converts to roughly 12 system coins. Then he subtracts Karen's 1% cut and the 3 coins spent on each crystal. Bro is basically counting his profits now, and the numbers are looking pretty good. But then his thoughts drift back to what he told Karen earlier about family. Suddenly, the mood hits him and sadness starts to sink in. He remembers how awful his relationship with his siblings was in his previous life. That is exactly why he is trying to repair things this time. The problem is he cannot simply confess that he time traveled and regrets being a terrible brother, so he keeps passing along advice in roundabout ways. But if the words do not come directly from him, from Aaron himself, they will never carry the same weight. He understands the irony, but shakes it off and turns his mind elsewhere. He thinks about how close he is to getting revenge on that scumbag Suk-yoon. After grinding so hard for this moment, he has been hoarding gold like a dragon, since in the Murim world, gold is extremely rare and used for almost everything. The man even has an entire suitcase packed with the shining metal. A few moments later, the scene shifts with a sudden boom. He has already reached the sales limit for the day. Just as he closes that window, another system alert suddenly appears. It is a message from Silk-yun. The instant Aaron sees that name, his eyes brighten. His finger hovers over the accept button, ready to press it right away. Then he catches himself and pauses. He cannot look too eager. Pulls his hand back, shuts his eyes, and gives himself a quick mental warning. He even counts down from 3 in his head. Only then does he finally accept. A screen opens with a polite message thanking him for waiting. On the other side, Seok-yoon adjusts his glasses. He mutters that this person had better be punctual since he risked his whole reputation to obtain secret poison sect arts from Heavenly Sword Castle. Aaron begins reading as Seok-yoon goes on about how difficult it was to acquire the technique, even with all his influence and connections. Aaron already knows the man is trying to squeeze him from every direction, but he stays calm and plays along. He takes a breath and replies with thanks for all the effort. A new screen appears, showing the chaos cultivation technique. But Seok-yoon is far from done with his pitch, and immediately starts praising how unique it is. He claims that unlike the ordinary heavenly technique any castle trainee could learn, this one is exclusive, and meant only for selected elites. Aaron sits there with a huge grin, because he has obtained exactly what he needed. His eyes close in deep satisfaction, looking as if he just hit the jackpot. Then Seok-yoon raises a finger on the screen, and asks if Aaron can pass a message to his client. Aaron's eyes immediately snap wide open. Seok-yoon says he will be completely honest. 2,500 coins may sound like a lot, but for the chaos cultivation technique, he claims it is practically a bargain. Sitting professionally at his desk, he explains that the official market lists it at only 2,000 coins, which supposedly proves how valuable it is compared to the heavenly technique. Then he adds that the market price is 5,000 coins. Aaron sits there thinking this is exactly how this man always operates. He creates a fake sense of rarity in the buyer's mind, then sells worthless goods at an inflated price. If he were not a skilled merchant, Aaron thinks he would probably be making clickbait videos or running shady investment schemes. Aaron's thoughts drift back to his previous life. He remembers that Seok-yoon used the exact same method on him before. This man had practically robbed him outright. He was also one of the biggest reasons Aaron ended up in such a terrible situation. Just remembering it fills Aaron with humiliation and anger, because trusting that fraud was the greatest mistake of his entire life. Returning to the present, Aaron asks the key question: how much does Seok-yoon want for it? Seok-yoon adjusts his glasses with a businessman's smile and says 4,000 coins, claiming that already includes a 1,000 coin discount. Aaron's hand tightens against his leg until his knuckles pale, thinking that even though he is short by 1,000 coins, he might still cover the rest somehow. He types back that he only owes 300 more, since he already paid 200 earlier. Seokhyun raises his hands in fake innocence and asks if this is Aaron's first major deal in System 1, because he clearly does not understand the rules. He says those 200 coins were already spent to obtain the book in the first place. Aaron closes his eyes, genuinely stunned by how shamelessly ruthless this man can be. He tries to argue back, saying Seokhyun is demanding an absurd amount and that 1,700 coins is far too much. Seokhyun counters by asking why Aaron is reacting so strongly, since he is not the one paying and the money ultimately belongs to his client. So he suggests Aaron simply speak with the client first and see what they decide. Back in his room, Aaron is furious, silently cursing him and thinking Seokhyun always makes it feel like refusing means he is the one taking the loss. He touches his lips and calculates that even after using every privilege and discount available, he is still 25 coins short. The only way to gather the money is through the exchange center, which he truly does not want to use. He would rather break the coins himself than trade through that unfair center, but at this moment, he has no other option. With time running out, he tells himself to stay calm and not feel bitter, because he plans to take everything back later anyway. In the long run, 200 coins mean nothing to Aaron, and he will make this man repay far more than that. Once the exchange is completed, Aaron sends Seokhyun a message. He says he is ready for the deal, and the trade goes through. Aaron receives the chaos cultivation technique, while that schemer takes his 4,000 coins. And the moment Aaron presses accept, a broad smile slowly spreads across his face. The prey has finally taken the bait. Aaron now has the trade confirmation in front of him, and he checks his account balance. It is actually in the negative, but instead of panicking, he starts grinning in a chilling way, biting his finger as he imagines just how satisfying revenge will be. He wonders if this is the same thrill the Bamboo Mountain sect feels after chasing Hawkshell for more than 10 years, because honestly, he does not feel the slightest trace of guilt over what he just did to Seokhyun. If anything, our boy is excited about the chaos he is about to set loose. Right on time, another message arrives from Seokhyun, thanking him for such a smooth trade. Aaron sits there with a villainous smirk, thinking someone seems incredibly cheerful right now. The scene shifts to Seokhyun's room, and sure enough, the man is celebrating like he just won big. He pumps his fist in the air, bragging about tricking someone out of 4,000 coins, probably already deciding how to spend the money. Aaron leans back in his chair as a wicked little smile spreads across his face, quietly wondering how long that happiness will last. Then he begins typing, and when Seokhyun sees the message appear, he immediately grows uneasy and asks what Aaron means. But Aaron does not bother answering his question directly. Instead, our boy casually types the man's real name, Seokhyun, and calls him out for running a scam. Seokhyun freezes, and Aaron sends another message, asking whether the librarian knows what he has been doing in secret. Now the man is completely rattled, panic rushing through him all at once. Inside his head, he is shouting, "How does he know my real name? And who is this person?" Still, he tries to act calm and replies casually, saying he has no idea what Aaron is talking about. Aaron only smiles wider and tells Seokhyun to stop making himself look foolish. Then our boy casually suggests they bring in the librarian as a third party to verify everything. Seokhyun immediately replies in all caps that they absolutely cannot do that. Aaron covers his mouth, barely holding back his laughter, and asks why not. Then he starts acting out an imaginary conversation, saying, "Oh, librarian, your trusted employee Seokhyun has been," until Seokhyun finally cracks and types, "Fine, I am Seokhyun, are you satisfied now?" Seokhyun sits at his desk, imagining some terrifying martial arts monster looming over him with overwhelming pressure. He sweats nervously, wondering who this person is, whether he is some wealthy fighter, or if the entire trade was a trap from the beginning. He hurriedly opens Aaron's profile to investigate and then notices it says System 0. His eyes widen because that makes no sense at all. How could some random kid from a lower system, from the very bottom tier, discover that he has been taking martial arts techniques from the library and selling them under the merchant alias Shiokaon? There should be no record of that information anywhere. Aaron decides it is time to set the rules and types. "Listen carefully, because I am about to give you instructions. The moment you break even one of them, you become the main enemy of the Castle of Swords." Seokhyun thinks he has found a loophole. He adjusts his glasses with a smug gesture, grinning as if he has outsmarted Aaron. He thinks, "If I become their enemy, then you would also be their enemy for dealing with me, right?" Then he nearly jerks backward when Aaron replies, "Yes, that is exactly what I think." Seokhyun is confused now, so Aaron continues explaining, "I do not care how powerful the Castle of Swords is, because they cannot cross dimensions. What will they do? Send me an angry letter." Seo-kun tries another angle in panic, asking what about account suspension, since they can definitely do that. Aaron sits on his sofa with a smug look, casually waving the concern away as if swatting a fly, saying Seo-kyun will soon feel very guilty. And he delivers the real threat. What if he returns all the books right now and reports a corrupt employee selling stolen goods? The merchant's expression changes from confident to horrified almost instantly. Aaron continues, saying he heard that in Sky Sword Castle, people who steal completed cultivation skills are treated as serious criminals. Considering their harsh punishments, his situation is already looking dangerously close to the end. He pauses for effect, then smiles and adds that stealing from them does take a certain kind of courage. Aaron rests his chin on his hand with an almost gentle smile, thinking that the man must be completely terrified now. Then he fixes the screen with a snake-like gaze and asks whether Seo-kyun wants to survive. Seo-kyun stammers back yes, sounding as if his entire fate depends on it. Aaron lays out the rules like formal terms. Fail to respond within 5 seconds, and you are finished. Close this dialogue window, and you are finished. Refuse to follow my instructions exactly, and you are finished. Answer me with disrespect, and you are finished. And he gives the first order, simple and direct: return my money. When Seo-kyun hesitates for even a brief moment, Aaron adds rule number 5, saying he is finished if he pretends not to understand, and the merchant panics immediately. He quickly sends back 320 coins. Aaron sits there genuinely confused, because that is not the amount he originally gave. Seo-kyun frantically explains through messages that the system automatically deducts a 5% transfer tax. Aaron presses his palm to his forehead, realizing he completely forgot about the tax. Then a wicked grin appears as he asks who will return his remaining 580 coins, or whether they should ask the librarian to cover his debt. Seo-kyun stammers that he will handle it and send the amount right away. Then he immediately transfers another 580 coins. Aaron's balance suddenly rises to 3,692 coins. His eyes widen because somehow he has 1,000 more coins than he had at the start. That is still true even after counting the transfer tax. But before he can look deeper into that mystery, he remembers another matter and types, "Oh right, what happened to that 200 coin deposit from earlier?" Seo-kyun fires back, saying he spent it bribing guards and even had to use his own money too. But Aaron's eye glows red in the screen's reflection, and just like that, another 200 coins are sent over. Then our boy keeps the pressure going without slowing down. Alright, since the chaos cultivation technique is already settled, next are the green cloud and scarlet dawn techniques, along with the 8 cloud dragon martial arts. Notifications begin pouring in one after another. The merchant buries his face in his hands like he is falling apart inside. His account balance drops until only a miserable 215 coins remain. Aaron watches everything with a huge smile and starts typing. He says Seo-kyun should also pay for his time, considering all the effort he put in, and only then will he let him go. Lloyd would probably be incredibly proud of our boy at this moment. The instant Seo-kyun reads that final message, his eyes nearly jump from shock. In complete panic, he wonders how Aaron could possibly know his exact balance. Can this person see his account? Is he a VIP player? What is even going on? Seo-kyun sits there sweating heavily, unable to understand why this VIP is targeting him so aggressively. He asks what Aaron wants and why he is doing all of this. Our boy casually replies that he is simply collecting an old debt. Before Seo-kyun can ask anything else, Aaron quickly cuts him off, tells him that he is not the one allowed to ask questions here. Seo-kyun tries the usual excuse of having no money left. He claims he has nothing, but Aaron immediately calls him out. Aaron knows very well that Seo-kyun made a fortune by scamming people through the zero-sum system. Seo-kyun insists he spent it all on drinking women and keeping 2 wives satisfied, claiming he is truly broke despite his empty account. Aaron points out that he still has valuable things he can sell. That is when Seo-kyun's face goes pale. He finally realizes exactly where this conversation is going. It becomes even worse when Aaron starts bringing up martial arts. Panic is clear in Seo-kyun's eyes. Aaron is after his internal energy, his cultivation techniques, and even his body lightning ability. In short, everything that defines him as a martial artist. In their world, martial artists are built on their techniques, so losing them all would be almost the same as losing everything. Tears begin running down Seo-kyun's face. Aaron gives him only 10 seconds to make a choice: his life or his martial arts. As the countdown continues, Seo-kyun is completely shattered. He sobs against the table, knowing that with even a few basic techniques he could rebuild, but losing everything would leave him below nothing. The trade completes, and the moment Aaron sees the techniques he received, he immediately starts mocking Seo-kyun. He asks why all of his techniques are so terrible. Seo-kyun is fully crying now, begging to know what Aaron could still want from him. After all, his balance has dropped to negative 800 coins. Aaron tells him to stop acting so dramatic, because he knows exactly what kind of man Seo-kyun is. He is certain Seo-kyun must have something hidden away somewhere. But when Aaron checks his profile and reads the description, it says he is a man who has lost everything. Even Aaron feels slightly awkward and admits that was his mistake. Then Aaron tells Seo-kyun to return to whatever pitiful life he had before. Seo-kyun is completely confused because he thought Aaron had promised to spare him. Aaron clears up the misunderstanding understanding. He will let him live, but only if Seokyun becomes his obedient puppet. Aaron had considered ending things quickly, but that felt far too simple and too merciful, remembering everything from his past life. He knows this man does not deserve an easy ending. To Aaron, real revenge means forcing someone to endure regret until they wish it would finally stop. Aaron's eyes take on a dangerously intense look as he promises that Seokyun will suffer so badly he will wish it would end. He plans to keep track of him through email, just to make sure his misery continues. Seokyun tries to respond, but Aaron has already said everything he needed to say. He simply walks away with a satisfied smile because everything has gone exactly the way he planned. The next morning, our boy is taking a triumphant run through the forest. He is fired up to test every martial art he managed to squeeze out of Seokyun. As the sun rises, he moves through the trees using the Thousand Sages footwork technique. A system screen appears, displaying the details. At first, he assumed it was only meant to increase speed, and he leaps high into the air with both arms spread wide. For a moment, it feels like he is flying, and once he lands, the meaning finally clicks. The technique is far deeper than he expected. He had even worried that absorbing all these skills might overwhelm him, but his unique ability allowed him to take everything in perfectly. He has already tested most of the techniques, and now it is time for the real highlight. This is the very reason he went through all that trouble. He draws his sword and begins moving through a series of attacks. One strike follows another, making it clear that this is what he had been waiting for. Every bit of effort and every piece of planning was all for the chance to obtain the Mystery Blade technique, the same legendary technique that once transformed Lucian Steelguard into a mythical knight before it supposedly vanished with him 10 years ago. And now our boy is reviving it on these very lands, wielding a technique everyone believed had disappeared into history. Aaron stands there, staring at the massive pile of rubble he has just created. His eyes widen as he thinks that maybe he pushed the training a little too far. Seeing the destruction makes him wonder if Raphael could do the same. Since Raphael is a first-class knight, maybe he could, though internal energy and aura work differently. What truly unsettles him is that Raphael, who is known as the greatest knight in the land, is ranked on the same level as Seokyun, the guy who spent his days sitting around doing nothing. That realization is genuinely frightening. Aaron starts getting irritated with himself for missing details like this. Then it suddenly hits him. He has been looking at the situation the wrong way. He stares down at his hands with a huge smile, thinking about all these incredible skills. They belong to him now, and it is time to find out what he can really do. So he throws himself into full training mode. He tests each technique one at a time, clearly enjoying every second of it. He races through the forest using the footwork of 1,000 changes. Something still feels a little off, perhaps because he has not fully grasped the system, but the skill remains absurdly powerful. He drives his fist into the ground and shatters it apart, sending rocks flying everywhere with the breaking fist of despair. Then he focuses and extends his fingers, testing Golden Wheel. He considers it the weakest skill, though its ability to reveal pressure points could prove useful later. Exhausted, he wipes sweat from his face while thinking about how all 5 techniques connect with continental martial arts. Then doubt creeps in, and he wonders whether training internal cultivation is wasting his mana. He decides not to overthink it, since martial arts draw too much attention anyway, and this is definitely not the right time to stand out. The more he considers it, though, the more it feels like a situation with benefits on both sides. Enyan's internal cultivation and the man in his heart could both become useful in different circumstances.
He scratches his head, realizing that he basically has to train twice as hard from now on.
Then he chuckles to himself, wondering if he can actually merge 2 completely different techniques. Since they use the same energy points, it seems worth trying. He closes his eyes and concentrates. Then he begins murmuring vague philosophical lines about mirages being both near and far. Soon, a bright sphere appears in the darkness with sparks dancing around it, though he still cannot see the full image clearly. Then his hands begin glowing silver and Aaron is genuinely startled as the silver aura takes shape. A little later, he runs back to the castle and heads upstairs. He falls into one of those deep thinking moments where every answer only seems to create more questions. For now, getting revenge and feeling satisfied is the best outcome he can hope for, so he accepts it. Halfway up the stairs, a servant suddenly rushes toward him in complete panic. The servant says he has been searching all morning like it was urgent, while Aaron tells him to calm down, explaining he was only out for a walk and asking what happened. It turns out his father has been looking for him. The servant practically begs Aaron to hurry to his father's office right away. Our boy is confused about why his father wants him so early, but he goes anyway because that kind of summons cannot be ignored. He knocks on the door and is told to come in. Inside, he finds his father buried in paperwork, with Kaloi the overseer standing beside him. Aaron thinks of Kaloi as a calm and useful man who manages the estate, not a knight, but still someone dangerous with a sword. In other words, he is his father's right-hand man and practically his personal shadow. His father, Levedon, looks up. He instantly notices that Aaron has been training, and he says he likes that kind of drive. But Aaron immediately stiffens, because standing before his father feels like standing beside an overwhelming force. This man has reached the heroic rank, and to put that into perspective, there is an unseen barrier between the awakened level and the heroic level. Most people never manage to break through it, so yes, his father is simply on another level. The scene returns to the present. Levedon then asks if Eren had not said there were other paths he wanted to follow. Training since dawn seems a little unlike him. Eren explains that there are many paths, and he does not have to choose only one, as if life were a single-class RPG. His father points out that he is chasing two rabbits at once. Swordsmanship and trade are both difficult paths, especially for a beginner. His eyes widen slightly as he tells Eren he is curious how many more times his son will manage to surprise them. He had assumed Karen was the one in the family with talent for business, but it seems he was mistaken. Then he asks Eren why he had kept it hidden all this time. Eren responds with another vague piece of philosophy about a nail that sticks out being hammered down, so it is better to keep that level of ability concealed. The praise stops there though, because now comes the part where he has to face the consequences. Levedon asks whether Eren understands what mistake he made. Eren nods and admits he was wrong to use the family name for trading. At this point, Eren is sweating nervously, because his father casually says he will personally meet this merchant. The old man asks why Eren has been so quiet lately and whether they can keep in touch. Eren replies that they will meet, telling him not to worry. Then his father brings up Eren leaving for the Night Academy in 3 days. Eren confirms that everything has already been arranged, but when his father asks if he needs any help, Eren thinks there actually is something he could use, though he cannot exactly ask for it directly, so he chooses to answer in a vague and mysterious way. He says that simply caring about him is enough. With that, the conversation comes to an end. Eren remains standing there, thinking to himself, how did his father manage to figure everything out so quickly? But before he can even fully process it, Kaloi appears. He wants to speak with Eren and wastes no time getting to the point. He asks how Eren's father learned about the situation between Karen and the firm. Eren realizes someone must have talked, and he grows nervous because if his father questions Karen directly, she will probably break under pressure and reveal everything almost immediately. Then things get interesting. Kaloi explains that Levedon was actually surprised, because he expected Eren to stop his sister from getting involved. Since that never happened, his father is not even angry about it. Instead of shouting and punishing her, he plans to let Karen learn from the consequences on her own. Since this time things ended well enough, there is nothing more they can do about it. For Eren, however, this is a problem, because all of Karen's weaknesses have suddenly disappeared because of this development. Kaloi then asks how Eren discovered the link between the firm and his sister, saying he is almost certain someone from the firm tipped him off. Eren simply shrugs and says he was only guessing. With an estate this large, major customers are essential, and merchants will do almost anything to secure them, so they tossed out bait, and Eren's sister took it without hesitation. After that, Kaloi leaves. Eren is left standing there, thinking about everything. The whole situation is starting to seriously irritate him. Once everyone is gone, Eren decides he needs to handle some preparations before entering the academy. He opens the affiliate market screen to check possible investments. The moment he sees the prices, he becomes furious because everything is outrageously expensive. 1 year of internal cultivation costs 3,000 coins, which is apparently what first-class workers earn in an entire year. To be clear, 1 year of internal cultivation does not mean actually training for a full year. It is more like a unit for measuring power or progress, similar to how people measure computer storage. He remembers spending a whole year training with basic techniques in the past, while the system had locked these prices in long ago. And while he cannot really call the prices unfair, he still wishes they were lower, because naturally Eren wants a bargain. He sets the filter to a maximum of 300 coins, and begins browsing through the shop. Then something finally catches his attention. It is a strange listing from a girl mentioning her husband, which immediately feels suspicious. Still, he buys it anyway. 10 years of internal energy for 300 coins. Looking at the purchase, he realizes that for the same price, he could have bought potions or fermented cultivation items to absorb slowly, but he has no time for the long route. So he sits on his bed and decides to absorb everything directly, right then and there. He closes his eyes and things immediately become intense. A glowing blue object appears before him. Lines of energy begin moving toward it. Wind starts whipping through the room like a violent storm. Steam rises around him, and his hair shoots upward like a true anime protagonist. Even his bedsheets are thrown straight onto the floor, yet through the entire dazzling scene, his expression remains perfectly serious. When it finally ends, Eren opens his eyes and realizes what happened. He has just compressed 60 years of internal cultivation into a single sitting, which is honestly absurd. He checks his status window and sees that one achievement has been unlocked, but the next achievement requires him to raise his soul image rank, and that is where his plan starts falling apart. He originally intended to sell all his martial arts items and leave trading behind to focus elsewhere, but that plan is no longer possible, because now he wants to reach System 2, and to do that, he needs another item he has been watching for quite some time. So once more, he opens the affiliate market page. Then he starts searching for the yin and yang bugs. Aaron pulls up the description for the yin and yang bugs, quickly realizes he should research them before spending any coins. So he contacts the seller through chat, casually as if he were sliding into someone's messages, and the seller immediately begins unloading a mountain of strange background information. It turns out these are not ordinary shop items, but actual living creatures. The bug part of the name means loneliness, because they are parasites that enter people and severely affect their minds. The seller explains that anyone who absorbs them would lose hope and feel as if their life were falling apart. However, these bugs can also be used to reshape a person's personality completely. In theory, they could turn a kind, honest person into someone deceitful and greedy, or even help change a terrible person for the better. Though realistically, nobody is using mind-altering bugs for noble charity work. The way the seller describes everything begins to unsettle Aaron, so he activates Eye of Insight to gather more information on the seller, and suddenly, several system windows appear, displaying details about him. They also include suspicious information about soul images and evil god-related matters. After Aaron reads through all of it, he becomes completely certain that this man is deeply unstable. Strangely, that makes him feel more reliable, because at least the man is honest about his madness. The blood demon keeps talking about the bugs and eventually gives one crucial warning: never use them on family members. Aaron simply thinks, alright, noted. The man warns him not to use them on family or lovers, because once the bugs enter someone's body, the control is permanent and cannot be undone. He says many people ask how to remove them, especially men who used them to force affection and later regretted it. The message is clear: once these bugs enter someone, they remain forever, like a curse that must be used with care. Aaron sits there smiling, because this is completely different from what he thought he was buying. Now a new plan is forming in his mind, and he is already deciding who will become the one to take these bugs. The scene cuts to the night training hall, where Javis is working hard with his sword. Aaron arrives carrying a cup like he is delivering coffee, while Javis finishes his set under Aaron's watch. Then Aaron walks over and praises him, saying he truly is built differently. This kind of training would make ordinary knights collapse from sheer exhaustion. But Javis is still standing firmly, as if it is nothing at all. Aaron compliments him in an unusually sweet tone. Then he casually offers him a drink. Javis takes the mug, about to thank him for the kind gesture. But when he looks down, he sees a terrible green liquid sitting inside the cup, looking almost impossible to drink. He immediately imagines his throat suffering the moment that awful mixture goes down. He turns toward Aaron, ready to refuse politely, but Aaron brings out his strongest weapon: a pair of extra cute, sparkling puppy eyes, and one look at that face changes everything. Javis knows he is completely cornered, with no way out, so he forces himself to drink that awful mixture, all while suffering silently on the inside. Aaron watches him like a proud parent and says he made it especially for him, and it should be good for his body, which definitely does not sound suspicious. Javis returns the empty cup and thanks him, even though Aaron can clearly tell he feels no gratitude, and is probably fighting the urge to gag. Then Aaron asks him for a favor. He wants Javis to move away from the palace, and although Javis is confused, he agrees. After drinking mysterious green sludge, what choice does he really have? They walk into the forest, where Aaron asks Javis to show him his aura. Javis finds the request strangely adorable. To him, Aaron seems like a curious kid eager to watch a cool magic trick. He draws his sword and tells Aaron to step back for safety. Then he focuses with full concentration. The sword begins to glow as he activates his aura, looking like he is powering up in a Shaun scene. Aaron watches with close attention and thinks, yes, this is exactly the kind of display expected from the Ace Knight, and it is fairly impressive. But once he examines the aura's true quality and density, then compares it to his older brother's level, the gap is obvious. Aaron smiles to himself, realizing that while Javis's aura would impress ordinary people, it still is not strong enough to truly worry him, and things are going even better than expected. Javis finishes showing off his aura, feeling a little pleased with himself. When Aaron starts praising him like an excited fan, Javis becomes shy and says he is nothing compared to the Count or the Captain. And a thought suddenly hits him. Both the Captain and Aaron's father have auras, so why did Aaron choose him? Aaron explains it is because Javis is the youngest. He likely awakened his aura around 20, maybe earlier, meaning he has had it for only about 10 years at most. Aaron talks about how incredible it must feel to break past that barrier and surpass yourself, asking who else could truly understand it. Javis scratches his head, wondering why they had to come all the way into the forest for this conversation. He figures teenagers must simply experience emotions in a different way. Then Aaron suddenly claps his hand, and the whole atmosphere changes at once. The friendly child act disappears completely. Now Aaron wears a sharp, unpleasant smirk. He asks if Javis finally understands, saying he has caught him at last. Javis stares at him in confusion, wondering if this is even the same person. Aaron begins mocking everything Javis said about breaking walls and surpassing oneself. He calls it nonsense, then casually says it would be troublesome if everyone learned Javis's secret. He asks how the weather is down south, calling him Mr. Emperor's spy. And just like that, Aaron calls him by his real name, Javis. Javis panics inwardly as he realizes his entire mission has collapsed. He tries to stay calm and acts confused, saying that calling him a spy is going a bit far. But Aaron refuses to buy it, pointing out that people all behave similarly when pressured. Javis tries to regain control. He tells Aaron that if he truly had proof, they would not be alone in the forest. He would have already reported him to the Count or the Captain. Aaron calmly asks whether that means he is admitting to being a spy. Javis quickly backtracks, saying Aaron is lucky he is not one, because otherwise he would not leave this forest alive. Aaron asks if that is meant to be a threat. Javis says no, he is only pointing out how reckless Aaron is being. Aaron actually laughs and agrees with him. Yes, he is the only one who knows, and they are completely alone out here. He even asks whether Javis could take him down right now. Javis thinks this kid is either unbelievably foolish or attempting some strange intimidation game. Either way, knowing his real name makes Aaron too dangerous, so Javis decides he has to deal with him. Javis pulls his sword back, preparing to finish it. He swings toward Aaron, but the kid vanishes from sight. Javis looks around, completely thrown off. His sword is still drawn, and he is certain his strike should have landed. He hears a sound coming from behind him. He barely manages to block Aaron's strike in time. The moment he looks up, everything he believed is shaken apart. Aaron stands before him with a blue glowing sword, wrapped in his own aura. Javis looks down and realizes his sword has been snapped in half. Aaron mocks him, asking how he ever became a spy when he attacked so openly and left his back exposed like a rookie. Javis drops to one knee, silently cursing himself for dismissing the youngest Steel Guard son, just because everyone called Aaron useless. Even after learning Aaron had hidden talent, it still seemed minor, since the island was already full of gifted people. Using aura at only 16 years old is something else entirely. That is the kind of level reached by legendary heroes like Lazakon or the current hero Leviton. Javis throws his broken sword aside. He finally understands that his life is truly at risk. Aaron looks at him and casually suggests they settle it with fists. He tosses his own sword away as well. Javis is stunned that this madman just gave up his advantage. Aaron extends his hand with that same wicked grin, practically inviting him to come forward. Javis knows it is foolish to fight an aura user barehanded after losing his sword, but he has no other choice. He shouts and charges at Aaron with his fists raised anyway. Aaron closes his eyes and draws in a slow breath. Then he settles into a fighting stance. Javis lifts his fist and aura gathers around it. Breaking Fist of Despair. Our boy unleashes World Breaker and immediately realizes, yeah, that might have been a little too much. Javis ends up sitting in a deep dirt crater, coughing hard and completely shaken by what just happened. He watches Aaron walk over as casually as ever and thinks, how was this guy hiding that much power all along? Javis tries to act tough, asking if his subordinate is all right, but when he attempts to stand, he falters and collapses. Aaron stands over him calmly, warning him not to even think about resisting unless he wants things to get worse. Javis clenches his teeth in anger, realizes Aaron is not bluffing. The difference in strength is painfully obvious now. Holding his injured arm, he knows he is completely trapped. He asks Aaron who exposed him, wondering if it was the inspector or the security bureau. Aaron looks at him as if he is foolish and says he clearly does not understand the situation. Aaron makes it clear that he is the one asking questions. Then he explains that he has always wondered why the Empire cares about this island, since Steel Guard is mainly known as the place where Leviton stopped their invasion. It is not a major research center or a key strategic point, so why would the information department spend resources sending spies here? He wants to know what the Empire is truly after, especially when they sent someone far from ordinary. Javis is basically a medieval Lloyd Forger. He has elite spy abilities and can use aura, which means he is also a knight. Sending someone that capable proves the Empire is seriously concerned about Steel Guard. Aaron tells him that staying silent only makes him look even more suspicious. Still, Javis refuses to speak. So Aaron changes tactics, asking why he is so loyal when he is just a disposable tool, and whether he truly thinks the Emperor cares about him. Javis snaps back that it does not matter, and Aaron says he could force answers, but that would only make things worse for him. Javis turns dramatic, telling Aaron to do whatever he wants and claiming he still will not talk. Aaron tells him to relax, saying he had not even thought of that and asking whether Javis sees him as some savage. He points out that using harsh methods on a trained spy would be a complete waste of time. Then Aaron takes out a small bottle. Javis stares at it in confusion and asks, what is that thing, some kind of bug? Aaron sighs, saying a certain someone would be furious hearing it called that, before explaining that these are yin-yang bugs. The one inside the bottle is the yin, while the yang is the one Javis has already swallowed. Javis goes pale, demanding to know what Aaron means by saying he ate one. Aaron reminds him of earlier, when he checked his drink and assumed it was safe. Clearly, it was not. Javis immediately tries to force it out, while Aaron calmly tells him to stop, because it is already too late. By now, the beetle is probably already settled somewhere inside his head. Aaron explains that the bugs share sensations with each other, especially pain. If the yin dies, the yang goes wild inside its host, and both the host and the bug eventually meet a terrible end. Javis drops to his knees, insisting that Aaron is lying. He admits he's never encountered creatures like this before, but Aaron simply pulls out a long needle, saying it's better to experience it once than explain it 100 times. Before Javis can react, Aaron plunges the needle into the jar. The white beetle screams, and Javis feels as if 1,000 lightning bolts pierce his skull, writhing in excruciating pain. Aaron explains that the beetle experiences it more intensely than the yin, but the owner feels it even more painfully. Then Aaron begins running through the steps taught by his mentor. Step 1 is light poking, which feels like countless spears stabbing repeatedly. Step 2 involves dunking it in cold water. This makes you feel frozen solid, unable to breathe, worse than being exposed on a snowy mountain. Step 3 places it near fire, feeling like being thrown into blazing flames as your flesh burns. Yet all of this happens entirely in your mind. Aaron rubs his chin, satisfied that his mentor wasn't exaggerating, while Javis is completely shattered. A few moments later, the boy is fully subdued. Javis begins confessing everything, admitting he's a spy, revealing his real name, and preparing for questioning. Aaron asks him directly why he came to Stilgard and what the Empire wants. Javis gushes like a broken faucet, explaining the Empire fears a second Leviton might appear. The Emperor holds the only rank higher than heroic, and with mythic ranks lost to history, legendary is the pinnacle humanity can reach. Yet Leviton, the knight who stopped the Empire from conquering a continent, the Heart of Steel himself, reached a mythical rank, and his son also attained heroic rank. Aaron interrupts, saying he already knows all this and wants new information. Javis clarifies that possessing a few heroic ranks isn't the Empire's concern, they already have those. They even hold a legendary rank, so that isn't what alarms them. The real issue, a heroic rank son born to a mythic rank father. You think that's coincidental? The Empire began suspecting something in Stilgard's bloodline might be producing these exceptional individuals. Aaron presses Javis directly. Is this the Emperor's prediction? Javis goes silent, bowing his head, confirming it all. Aaron pushes further, demanding the actual intelligence. Javis starts praising Kieran, the golden grandson everyone is obsessed with. He brags about Kieran reaching second rank at such a young age, claiming he could match his grandfather or even his father. Aaron cuts him off coldly, saying that's impossible. Javis concedes, admitting he'd be amazed if Kieran even reaches awakened rank, since he believes the bloodline weakens each generation. And he turns to Aaron with a revelation. He admits he was completely wrong, as Aaron clearly inherited the lion's share of the legendary bloodline. Aaron frowns, realizing this spy isn't just slightly mistaken, he's completely off the mark. Aaron can only use aura because of the dimensional transaction book he obtained. It has nothing to do with genetics or the bloodline the Empire investigates. What matters is that the Empire continues to watch them closely, which implies his father's disappearance might not have been a random tragedy. It could be the very reason Stilgard fell initially. That disappearance became Navarro's greatest unsolved mystery, which Aaron never solved even in his past life. Now he is connecting the dots. The Empire isn't merely spying. They are actively preventing a second Leviton from rising, introducing a plotline he hadn't anticipated. Cut to Leviton engaging in mental training indoors. Suddenly, he screams in pain, a recurring issue lately. He wipes his mouth and sees blood on his glove, unaware when it started, but training now gives him severe headaches. Blood indicates danger. Resting does nothing to relieve it. He wonders if it's an internal injury he ignored, perhaps a mental demon tormenting him. At that moment, Kaloi interrupts, apologizing for breaking his training, but he stresses it is urgent. Leviton stands and asks what happened. Kaloi announces that his youngest son has returned. Leviton responds calmly, okay. Kaloi panics, saying he is with the merchant Ulaf and has discovered the Imperial spy. Leviton's expression drops as he realizes his youngest has somehow captured an Imperial spy. Next, the scene shifts to the White Palace, rising through the clouds with dramatic steps. Aaron and the warden stand there. Below them, Aaron's team, including a man in a white cloak bowing and another lying motionless on the floor. All the siblings watch in stunned silence. Shock and disbelief are written across their faces. Javis lies there motionless, his body covered in blood. Leviton takes one look and immediately realizes the spy is truly gone. Aaron bows at once, apologizing and saying he tried to save the man but failed. His father tells him there is no need to apologize and orders him to receive treatment. But Aaron insists that he is perfectly fine, so Leviton demands to hear the entire story. Aaron turns toward the hooded man beside him and introduces him as the Mana Stone seller. The hooded merchant sits there calmly, eyes closed as if none of this concerns him. Leviton says he has heard about this person before. Aaron explains that he arrived late to meet the seller, and when they left together, something felt wrong because someone was following them. The people nearby look confused, wondering why anyone would trail an ordinary merchant all the way here. Aaron says he drew the spy to a quiet place and confronted him, only for the man to pull out his sword. Levedon asks how Aaron could tell the man was a spy. Iron Boy then hands over a folded piece of paper. He asks the butler to deliver it to his father. Everyone falls completely silent in shock. Levedon reads it carefully, hums in thought, then looks up and confirms the truth. Yes, exactly as his son said, this knight was definitely a spy. Kieran completely loses his composure. He asks whether the contents written there are actually true. Levedon explains that it appears to be a code used by the Imperial Information Department, and he has seen this kind of thing before. Kieran reaches out and asks if it could simply be a coincidence or just a random copy. Levedon gives him the disappointed look only a father can give. Even Aaron goes quiet after seeing it. Levedon stares at his eldest son and asks whether Kieran seems unwilling to let this information reach the Empire. Kieran quickly gets defensive, saying of course not, since the Empire is a problem they must handle, but Levedon asks if that is truly his reason. Kieran insists it is, yet Levedon can already see through him clearly. He reflects that some people always choose to believe in the best possible outcome. It is like assuming tomorrow will rain simply because today did not, which may be fine for ordinary people. But he looks at Kieran and says Aaron thinks differently. If there is no rain, he prepares for drought, because that is how a leader thinks. He asks Kieran whether he understands. His son exhales, lowers his gaze, and quietly says that he does. Levedon then praises Aaron for excellent work, while Aaron humbly says he only happened to catch the spy by chance. Meanwhile, Kieran remains standing there, his teeth clenched tightly in anger. He frowns and silently curses Aaron, because once again his younger brother has made him look foolish in front of their father. The scene shifts to Aaron's room, where he sits on his bed, honestly surprised that they actually can find him there. He only has a tiny scratch, yet everyone is treating him as though he is barely holding on. Potions after every meal, forced checkups, and every other precaution have been personally ordered by his father. Then Aaron turns his attention to Javis. He asks how long Javis intends to keep wearing that mask. Javis removes it and simply stares at everything, still stunned. He has only spent a single day with Aaron. Yet Javis has already been hit with one shock after another, from Aaron's unbelievable strength to this entire spy operation. Aaron notices Javis studying the mask. He casually tells him to handle it carefully, since that mask is basically his lifeline now. If he damages it, there is no helping him, because Aaron can never recreate that exact face again. At first, Javis does not understand, and he realizes the mask was made from real skin. He freezes completely, his hands trembling as he drops the mask in horror. Aaron calmly watches him panic and reminds him that if it is his lifeline, he probably should not drop it. Javis manages to pull himself together enough to ask why Aaron keeps hiding just how overwhelmingly powerful he truly is. Aaron brushes it off. He's only 5th rank, yet people already act strangely around him. Imagine the chaos if he truly unleashed his strength. He tells Javis plainly that every chisel has a breaking point, and too much pressure will shatter the stone. But Javis sees it differently, reminding him, "Bro, you're a descendant of the Lazicon Steel Guard," suggesting Aaron could easily show off his power if he wished. Javis looks like he's about to propose something, but Aaron quickly shuts it down. He tells him to quit being arrogant, and asks if he really wants to become a walking advertisement that draws the Empire's attention. Javis immediately recoils. Aaron then holds up a small bottle. Inside, a larvae slug wriggles. He smiles, implying Javis is already under his control. Javis pales but realizes he has no leverage here. He hands over the spy report he wrote, which labels Aaron a total nobody. Clueless and brainless, fairly intended, but Aaron feigns mild offense for amusement. The report details everyone's progress except the female steel guards. Apparently, everyone else is doing fine. Aaron skims through while Ma complains about the insults. Javis quickly becomes defensive, claiming it was Aaron's idea to stay low initially, or argues that burying lies among truths is necessary. Being too obvious is dangerous. Javis offers to tweak the report, ranking Aaron around 6th or 7th instead of labeling useless. When Aaron asks how he'll send reports without a comms manager, Javis mentions he knows an agent in Acadio. Aaron responds coolly, "Looks like we're taking a trip soon," he remarks. He sends Javis off, but internally wonders if this is wise or if Javis can be trusted as a double agent. He decides to monitor him, knowing if Javis betrays them. There's always that bug in the bottle. Right after Javis leaves, Aaron hears approaching footsteps. His father, Levedon, enters. Harold Messi inquires about his well-being. Aaron is genuinely caught off guard. This kind of interaction never occurred, not in this life nor the last. He's accustomed to distance from his father. Having him sit on the bed beside him feels completely unfamiliar. Aaron forces a smile, saying he's fine thanks to the potions. He tells his father not to worry about delaying the trip. Levedon falls silent briefly. Then he reveals they found where the spy was hiding. His team stayed up all night tracking it. The spy was disguised as a merchant. He says guard numbers are increasing as a result. Still seated beside Aaron. He tells him it's all because of him. Aaron tries to downplay his role, but Leviton insists Aaron did something significant, yet warns against risking his life like that. Losing him is unacceptable to Leviton. Aaron sits, comparing this to his memories. In the past life, Leviton was cold, distant, and stone-faced. The man before him now is entirely different, and the realization hits him hard. During Steelguard's fall, he remembered every face present. Brothers, sisters, everyone but not his father. Leviton disappears 2 years later, leaving only childhood memories. Aaron realizes he misjudged him, keeping his distance, and now sits beside him, seeing the truth. His father breaks the silence, saying Aaron's recent handling suggests he'll manage in the capital but advises caution. Aaron looks at him with quiet sadness, thinking his father is the one who needs care. Leviton notices and asks if he's hurt somewhere. Aaron snaps out of it and waves it off. Big smile, thumbs up, all fine, just listening. Inside, he berates himself for nearly spilling everything, telling his father would make him sound unhinged. He swallows it and decides to shape the future himself. Cut to outside, father and son stand before the vault. Given Aaron's recent success and upcoming academy departure, his father wants to reward him. Aaron immediately asks to enter the vault, so here they are. Leviton opens the door, giving Aaron an hour to explore the inner vault. Aaron is instantly excited, though he makes sure not to show it too openly. His father catches the reaction and asks if he likes the vault that much, casually adding that Aaron can ask for pocket money whenever he wants something. When Aaron hears that, he turns back and notices the tone in his father's voice. The old man sounds a little disappointed, and Aaron realizes it right away. After all, if anyone else had been given the chance to ask him for something, most people would have begged to receive lessons from the legendary Night King himself. Yet Aaron only asked for time to browse through the storage. Aaron simply smiles, brushes it aside, and says he does not need gold. He only wants to take a look around. A small sense of guilt begins to settle in his chest. In his mind, he quietly apologizes to his father. He knows that, in a way, everything he is saying is a lie, because he already remembers this place from his previous life. Leviton gives a quiet laugh and says that is fine. Then he steps outside to wait, leaving Aaron alone inside the vault. Aaron feels if he is meeting old companions again as he sees shelves filled with items he still remembers. He moves through the aisles, carefully looking over the rare objects around him. They are not always the most expensive pieces, but each one has something unusual about it. He notices the commander's shield, a royal gift enchanted with morale-boosting magic powerful enough to inspire an entire army. Aaron studies it and immediately understands the political meaning behind the gift. The king had given them a shield rather than a sword. It meant they were expected to protect him, not fight for their own cause. His grandfather eventually understood that message too, which was why the shield had been stored away here. Soon after, Aaron discovers his grandfather's true equipment. There is a black shield and a kimono. Beside them rests Dark Sky, a slim sword with a red and gold hilt. Aaron reaches out through his inventory system in his mind. Then he realizes the storage is already close to full. His left eye turns red as he checks the details. It shows 763 out of 1000 capacity, so it is time for an upgrade. He spends 200 coins and raises it to level 2. After that, he uses another 500 coins to reach level 3. He almost continues automatically and spends 1200 coins on level 4, but stops himself just in time. Aaron ends it there, reminding himself not to waste money carelessly, even if he currently has enough. The improved inventory appears like a gloomy little room with a wooden door and a stone floor. Considering how much he just spent, Aaron is far from impressed. He picks up Dark Sky next, wanting to check its information. Eternal Dark Steel took a blacksmith more than 100 days to forge, cannot be cut even by enhanced aura, and carries its master's spirit. Aaron smiles, realizing his suspicion was right. His grandfather had used the same system as him and had also been a dimensional trader. Dark Sky had apparently been by his side from the very beginning. Feeling satisfied, Aaron places the sword back where it belongs. Then his expression suddenly changes. He was so absorbed in everything that he almost forgot the real reason he had come here. Aaron begins searching the vault for the dimensional trader book, already thinking that he needs to destroy it. If one of his siblings gets hold of it, events might collapse into the same disaster as his previous life. That is something he absolutely refuses to allow. Before long, Aaron is tearing through the vault as if driven by obsession. He checks every shelf, every corner, and every hidden spot, but still finds nothing. Book of Transactions seems to have completely vanished. By now, anxiety is starting to get the better of him. He crouches down and begins searching the lower cabinets. Then he actually lowers himself all the way onto the floor. Lying flat, he stretches one arm under a shelf towards something he noticed in the back, grunting as dust probably covers his clothes. At last, his fingers manage to grab onto something. For one brief moment, his heart leaps. Could this be it? Unfortunately, no. It is only a black egg sitting there by itself. It shines faintly, feels strangely heavy, and looks almost like metal. Aaron stares at the odd egg with a look of pure confusion, then decides it is not something he can deal with right now. He simply pushes it back under the shelf, treating it like someone else's strange experiment, because he has far more urgent problems to handle. After turning the entire vault upside down, he finally accepts the truth. The Book of Transactions is not here. Surprisingly, that is excellent news, because it means he may be the only one who can access the spatial exchange system. He allows himself a brief moment of smug satisfaction over that huge advantage, but it quickly fades as his mind returns to the mystery still bothering him. How did he travel back in time in the first place? And more importantly, how did he become connected to the spatial exchange system? His only clue is the bookmark of Wish, a blue-violet bookmark decorated with an elegant talisman. That is the last thing he remembers from the moment just before his previous life went dark. He had been sitting there, badly wounded and overwhelmed by pain, so the memory is hazy. Still, he is fairly sure he wished for another chance. He also believes he wished to control spatial trade for himself. But the bookmark only grants one wish, not two, so something clearly does not add up. He remains standing there, trying to connect the pieces in his mind. He absent-mindedly pats behind his ear, as if some forgotten memory might fall loose, but eventually gives up. He will not solve this mystery today, so we may as well continue. Since he is already inside the vault after coming this far, Aaron decides he should at least take something useful before leaving. He moves back through the shelves, carefully looking over everything available to him. Walks past his grandfather's famous sword. Dark Sky pauses for a second to think it over, and he shakes his head, deciding it is far too flashy and would draw too much attention. He studies the magical artifacts placed around the vault, considers whether he still needs any of them, and concludes he is fine without them. After that, his gaze lands on a shelf full of books, and he wonders whether taking his grandfather's old research notes might be the smarter choice. That is exactly when the black egg from before makes its return. It actually rolls out from beneath the cabinet again. Then it knocks against his foot, almost as if it has a grudge against him. Aaron looks down at it in total confusion. He is sure he pushed it back under there. It has no legs, it is just an egg, yet somehow it rolled to him like a lost puppy. Then the realization hits him. This vault used to belong to his grandfather. His grandfather was known as the greatest spatial merchant who ever lived, so strange and unexplainable things in this place are honestly not surprising. So he lifts the egg again, but this time with real curiosity. He tries using his inventory system to scan it and figure out what it is. The scan returns absolutely nothing. That immediately catches his interest, because although his system is only level 1, it is still capable of identifying most ordinary things. If it cannot read the egg at all, then this object must come from a higher dimension than anything he has ever seen. He raises it in front of him and activates his Eye of Insight skill. His left eye glows red as the skill takes effect, and the very instant he sees the truth behind the egg, his face changes completely. We are not shown what he discovered yet, but from his expression, this egg has suddenly become extremely important. The scene changes, and now Aaron is preparing to leave Steelguard Mansion for the Royal Academy in the capital. In his previous life, this same moment had felt more like a farewell celebration for everyone else. People had whispered that they were finally free of that useless troublemaker, laughing at him behind his back. 2 girls had said someone like him would never change, and that Steelguard was better off without dead weight like him. He remembered walking past those cold looks and mocking smiles, feeling worthless and knowing no one would care once he was gone. This time, however, the mood is completely different. The people sending him off look genuinely sad and tell him to stay safe, take care, and visit again. Aaron waves to everyone with a sincere smile, feeling truly moved by the moment. He thinks about how unbelievable it is that only weeks ago, he was the most hated person here, yet now he has become Steelguard's hope. He allows himself a quiet moment of pride over how much everything has changed. While the others are busy loading his belongings onto the cart, his sister Karen pulls him aside. She asks him whether he feels happy about leaving. She looks at him warmly and reminds him that he will be away for 4 full years. He laughs lightly and tells her he will return during the holidays, so it is nothing to worry about. Then Karen slips straight into big sister mode and begins listing everything he needs to remember. She tells him to protect his health while traveling, wash his food properly, avoid letting laundry pile up, stay polite with others, and be careful wherever he goes. Aaron simply nods in silence, letting her say everything she needs to say. She gives him a gentle smile and admits that she knows he will be perfectly fine. Even so, she cannot stop worrying because he is the youngest, and that is what older sisters do. Then she takes his hand and places a small pouch in it. It is tied neatly with golden thread against his palm. Money. Aaron looks at the pouch uneasily and tries to refuse, saying the family has already given him a decent allowance. Karen simply waves off his concern, saying she heard it might be useful to him. He thanks her with real gratitude, but then his thoughts catch up, and his expression suddenly stiffens. Wait a second. His sister should not have this much money sitting around, so where did it come from? This time he looks at her more closely. and he notices that something is missing. The ruby pendant she always wore around neck is gone. In that instant, he understands what she must have done to give him that money. Honestly, this is making me question my own family situation, because apparently a sister is supposed to be this kind and thoughtful. The one I got at home just eats all my food and spends the whole day yelling at me. I am starting to think mine came with a defect. A little while later, Aaron is already seated inside the carriage. His eyes remain fixed on the small pouch Karen gave him, and he feels absolutely terrible about it. It does not take much thinking to realize that the money came for a ruby pendant. She must have sold it just to give him this money. Logically, it was not some ancient family treasure passed down for generations or anything that dramatic, so there is no clear reason it should affect him this deeply. Yet somehow it still does. He leans back, folds his arms, and tries to reason it out. He already knew how much she cared, so this should not be shocking. Then his mind shifts to everything she is facing right now. Steelguard does not even have a proper headmistress at the moment, which means Karen has more or less taken on that role herself. As the eldest, she probably believed it was her responsibility to send him off properly, even if it meant giving up something she truly loved. The realization settles in his chest like a heavy stone. He lets out a slow breath, thinking that her sense of duty and the weight she carries should have belonged to him instead. Before he sinks too deeply into those thoughts, he shakes them off. He cannot waste time drowning in emotion, because he needs to be more prepared than ever. So he opens his system interface and checks on Sokyun to see how their small business arrangement is progressing. The moment the chat opens, it is already a total mess. Sokyun has only managed to send 30 coins in one transfer and another 22 in a separate one. Aaron is instantly furious, bluntly tells him that he is wasting valuable time. Sokyun starts fumbling through an explanation about automatic exchanges. Then he brings up client calls and keeps trying to defend himself. But with every weak excuse, Aaron's attitude only grows colder. And Sokyun continues trying to justify his poor performance. Aaron does not even bother arguing. He simply opens their contract. Then, without any hesitation, he raises his own share from 80% to 83%, leaving Sokyun with only a pitiful 17%. Sokyun flinches as he watches the change take effect, but there is literally nothing he can do about it. The contract is backed directly by the exchange center itself. There are no loopholes, no room to maneuver, and no way around it. Aaron leans back, deeply satisfied, while mentally reviewing the beautiful terms of the agreement. In exchange for protection, Sokyun agreed to obey every order, keep everything completely secret, and hand over 80% of his profits for the next 100 years. That is basically a full century of corporate servitude. Lloyd would probably be proud of this level of exploitation. And the best part is this, that Sokyun has grown so attached to the money and upgraded lifestyle that even at 20%, he would never walk away. Aaron smiles to himself, thinking Sokyun is basically like a piece of candy that never runs out. Then, for once, Sokyun actually brings him something useful. He has found the book Aaron needed. It is called Evangeline's Breath, created by a legendary swordmaster from Earth 388-4 named Evangeline, who supposedly conquered an entire world alone. The backstory is honestly impressive. Frustrated that most martial arts were designed around male bodies, she created a technique for women and apparently discovered something extraordinary, though the explanation cuts off there. Naturally, our boy becomes extremely curious about what she actually discovered. He tries to dig further by using his eye of insight to draw out more information. He runs into a wall and no extra data appears. He asks Sokyun about it. Sokyun cheerfully explains that anyone who wants to use the book properly needs to have reached at least the 3rd level of cultivation. Aaron immediately snaps back, asking who exactly he is calling 3rd level. Sokyun explains that if someone cannot use sword chi properly yet, they are probably around the 3rd level. Aaron falls silent for a brief moment. Then he tells him to shut up, since his internal energy is literally only at level 3 right now. Sokyun nearly breaks down, asking whose fault that is supposed to be at this point. Aaron then asks whether the technique is stable, because the last thing he needs is something that damages his meridians. Sokyun assures him that it is gentle, flexible, and carries a very low risk of internal injury, so it should be safe enough. Sokyun also says he barely managed to get this copy and had to rely on a whole network of friends and contacts. At this stage, finding anything better would be almost impossible. Aaron asks about the other books Sokyun is still searching for. Sokyun says he is currently waiting for sellers to respond to his inquiries. Aaron tells him to send them over the instant they arrive. Then he leaves the chat right in the middle of the conversation while Sokyun is trying to bring up interest rates again. By then, Aaron is already gone. He sits there with the book in his hands, genuinely happy with what he has received. The writing is solid, and the translation is excellent. The technique itself also seems perfectly suited to what he needs. He stands up, walks over to where Karen is sitting, and presents the book to her with both hands. She looks surprised, asks if he bought it just for her, and tells him he really did not need to do that. He smiles warmly, explaining that while the gift might seem random now, there's a reason behind it. She'll understand everything once she reads it and begins practicing. Aaron promises to do so and thanks him sincerely. He observes her briefly, recognizing her genuine talent surpassing his own natural abilities, despite his future knowledge. He envisions her growing into a formidable special knight, truly powerful. He reflects that if she had been properly nurtured in his previous timeline, Stilgard might never have fallen as it did. He knows he can't guarantee greatness. Becoming a legendary knight takes more than raw talent. Yet he trusts that his sister won't waste a true opportunity when it's presented to her. He considers what else he might provide to help her grow stronger, like access to the system. High-level martial techniques or elite mana stones could boost her cultivation, but not yet. The timing for those things must be perfect. He claps his hands together, satisfied with his decision. He starts to walk away, then suddenly recalls one last crucial detail. He turns back toward the crowd still gathered to see him off. He points 2 fingers at his eyes in that familiar gesture. Slowly, he directs them toward Karen, signaling, "I'm watching you." For emphasis, he drags a finger across his throat with a serious expression, silently warning her not to do anything foolish while he's gone. Otherwise, there will be consequences when he returns. With that, the cavalry sets off. Meanwhile, Aaron sits in the carriage, reflecting on how different everything is compared to his past life. Academy life used to feel like a slow death, but now he's got everything under control. He's reconciled with his family. People no longer see him as worthless. He's leveled up so drastically that the difference between old and new him is staggering. In the middle of this main character moment, he receives a ping from Seokyun, informing him that the seller he's been tracking finally responded. Aaron quickly tells him to patch the call through. Once connected, he's ecstatic. He reveals a pitch-black egg and checks the info window. It's a Bulgasari egg, a monster that hatches into sheer chaos. The description is wild. It starts weak, almost useless, but grows into a force that devours metal and can trigger natural disasters. Extremely loyal to its trainer, if properly raised, it becomes the ultimate companion. Essentially, it's like holding a living natural disaster in your hand. Seokyun then sends a file on the seller, and Aaron dives in. The seller's name is Henry. He's a System 4 Animus, a 4th-level trader, capable in combat, with 418 coins. Aaron immediately suspects something. Why is a System 4 agent on Channel 1? He checks Exchange Center records and quickly finds the answer. Henry is a mid-tier fighter, ranked around 3 to 800, burning his earnings on gambling. Aaron smiles, realizing this will be easier than expected. He calls Henry, who picks up shirtless, holding a random horn exuding cocky energy. Henry immediately teases, so the System 1 guy finally shows up. Aaron replies nonchalantly, "Show me the item." Henry displays an enormous guide, The Tamer Legendary, written by the King of Beasts, covering 66 parts on taming techniques. Aaron only wants part 2 and 15 covering Bulgasari. Henry refuses immediately. He won't sell individual sections. He insists on selling all 14 parts as a bundle for 2,000 coins. Aaron thinks this man is insane, expecting him to pay 2,000 coins for one egg. He refuses to budge. Henry presses his pitch, claiming this book made the Emperor of Beasts, highlighting its incredible value, and using all the typical salesman hype. Aaron immediately calls out the falsehood. The books were written after the Emperor's rise. That argument is therefore meaningless. He counters with an offer of 150 coins for part 215 alone. Henry argues the full 6666 part set is worth over 300,000 coins. He insists that 14 consecutive parts are premium items, justifying the price. Aaron concedes. That point actually makes sense. He's not about to let this guy push him around either. So he decides to go all out and eliminate the obstacle. Casually suggests just buying a copy of part 215 for 100 coins. Henry completely loses it, yelling about the author's effort, licensing, and intellectual property rights. Meanwhile, Aaron sits there, wondering if this guy is about to have a heart attack. Then Aaron takes a closer look. He notices the copyright mark on the book and finally realizes, oh wow, this is serious. The Exchange Center strictly enforces these copyright tags. Selling unauthorized copies gets you permanently banned and all your coins confiscated. Aaron quickly apologizes, saying he hadn't noticed the mark. Henry goes on about how they're cracking down on copyright violations now. So copying is off the table, forcing Aaron to change tactics. He regroups and drops his final offer. 200 coins for part 215, take it or leave it. Henry goes silent, clearly thinking it over. Aaron casually closes the chat with a smug smirk on his face, because he knows exactly what will happen next, like clockwork. Henry sends a new invite almost immediately. He tries pushing for 250 coins, but Aaron doesn't budge an inch. Henry looks stressed, muttering about how selling part of the set will lower its value. You can tell he's desperate. Eventually, he gives in and agrees to 200 coins. Aaron celebrates internally, knowing Henry was trapped from the start. Henry barely has 400 coins total and probably came to System 1 to recoup gambling losses. Give him 0 leverage. 3 notifications pop up on E-Ren's screen: 180 coins spent on Part 215, 27 coins cashback thanks to a discount, and a message from the copyright system. Knowledge must be used inside the exchange center or absorbed directly into the brain. Aaron absorbs it instantly and starts reviewing the information. Bulgasari begins as a regional level threat. With proper training, it can scale to national, continental, and even planetary levels if used correctly. Taming difficulty is A rank, and specialness is S rank. Aaron stares at the egg in his hand, completely stunned, realizing he's been carrying it without understanding what it truly is. The egg catches the light, glowing ominously. Aaron flinches slightly. The idea of a planetary level threat is terrifying, even for him. Moments later, Aaron sits reviewing the guide. Everything about the King of Beasts title makes sense, and he feels confident he made the right choice buying it. Reality hits when he reads the hatching instructions. This is no simple egg-to-pet situation. Bulgasari is an imperfect organism, meaning it needs genetic material from another creature to exist. Saliva, blood, mucus, basically any biological fluid. The care instructions are pure nightmare fuel. Different requirements for day and night, very specific conditions. No one in System 1 could realistically manage this without losing their mind or the monster, but Aaron is committed. The first genetic material he feeds it will determine its potential, so quality is paramount. He needs something strong, capable of turning Bulgasari into a formidable menace, and his mind immediately goes to beasts. These exist even in the lowest tier systems 0 and 1, though people there call them spirits due to their ignorance. Checks the store catalog. Beast parts sell fast, categorized by tiers: human grade, earthly, heavenly, and some mysterious higher tier. Aaron studies the options carefully, knowing one wrong pick could be costly. Then it hits him. He has the perfect person to consult. He contacts Sokyun, and before Aaron can finish, Sokyun panics, asking if Aaron expects him to tame a beast himself. Aaron tells him to relax. He's not foolish enough to assign such a task to someone without inner cultivation. He asks Sokyun to review a file quickly. He sends a list of beast parts he's been eyeing, all ranked by combat power. Sokyun opens it and is impressed, calling it a solid list, then breaks it down like a TED talk. The 10,000-year-old ironmouth turtle has great blood for cultivation, but ultimately it's just an ancient turtle. The true heavyweights are the fire dragon and the 1,000-year-old bear, both extremely dangerous. Aaron cuts to the point, asking which is better. Sokyun doesn't even hesitate, the fire dragon hands down. He explains that an ordinary snake transforms into this after thousands of years of cultivation and practice. The dragon remains a dragon, period. The bear doesn't even come close to that standard. Our guy thanks him for the info and is about to hang up. Sokyun suddenly stammers mid-call. He awkwardly mentions buying Evangeline's breath book with his own money, but before he can finish the story, Aaron interrupts, asking if it hurt his wallet. Sokyun pales, practically sweating through the phone, and tries to backpedal, insisting that wasn't what he meant. Aaron is already asking how much the book cost. Defeated, Sokyun admits it was 30 coins. He tries to excuse it by saying he was in a rush and didn't have time to negotiate. Aaron narrows his eyes instantly, suspecting a lie, since he had already checked the price using his stream recognition. Like the paranoid genius he is, Seo Kyon sighs, admitting he can't lie to Lee Ren anyway, because Lee Ren would discover the truth and refuse to buy the book. So what's the point? Feeling magnanimous, Aaron opens the contract. He restores Sokyun's rate to its original level as a reward for honesty. He smiles, asking, "Are we good now?" Sokyun quietly agrees while internally screaming, realizing he's been completely played. Aaron says he'll call if he needs anything else and casually warns that if Sokyun doesn't pick up within 10 minutes, a penalty applies. Sokyun accepts his fate without protest. Now armed with expert advice, our guy wastes no time. He immediately purchases the fire dragon blood. Standing there, he holds the bottle in one hand and the egg in the other. He examines them, wondering if it will even work, given the egg has been dormant for a decade. But he shrugs it off, drips a few drops onto the egg, and they hiss and evaporate instantly, like pouring water onto a blazing hot pan. The egg then begins to glow with a deep, vivid scarlet light. Aaron's face lights up in amazement. It worked. He marvels at how it survived all those years locked away in his grandfather's dusty vault. He wonders who his grandfather even traded with to acquire such a rare item from System 4. But honestly, he has no idea, so he sets that mystery aside for now. Soft sound emerges from the egg like a gentle chirp. Aaron tenses for a moment, then relaxes as the situation stabilizes. He feared the egg might reject the blood and die, but it seems content with the premium dragon juice. All that remains is to wait. Time passes quietly. The carriage rolls past a scenic lake with mountains in the distance. Truly a peaceful setting. Our guy decides to use the downtime to cultivate. Training continues, but the egg begins to move. Cracks appear in the shell, and smoke starts to escape. Aaron leans forward, buzzing with anticipation. He imagines a terrifying, planetary-level beast, a legendary living disaster, a fearsome Bulgasari of System 4, poised to emerge and cause chaos. But instead, the tiniest, wide-eyed creature pops out. Aaron internally screams at how adorable it is. And a question strikes him. Why did it hatch so quickly? But looking into its large, innocent eyes, he just decides, forget it, who cares? It's too cute. Moments later, Aaron finishes admiring his new little pet. It's time to get serious. He draws his sword and slices his own hand without hesitation, letting it bleed. Then he holds it out to Sari, offering it like a snack. The reasoning comes straight from the guide. Bulgasari lack mammary glands, so mother Bulgasari feed their young with blood. If you expose them to your blood early, they imprint on the taste, bond to you for life, and all that naturally aggressive behavior is toned down. This reduces their aggression, making them much easier to control long-term. The little one dives in enthusiastically, perhaps a bit too much. Aaron observes calmly at first, but he quickly realizes the tiny creature is drinking alarmingly fast, and he thinks, okay buddy, that's enough. He scoops him up by the scruff, thinking to himself that he really needs a safer way to feed this thing, before it accidentally drains him completely, which would be a pretty embarrassing way to go. Once the situation calms, he doesn't put any serious thought into it. He simply goes with the brilliant logic of, you're a Bulgasari, so maybe just say sorry. The pet immediately squeaks in obvious disapproval, like it just got named dog or something, stuck with its new title. Soon it's almost time for the group to pause and take a break. They stop to eat and stretch, and Javis comes over to check on Aaron. He notices Aaron's bandaged hand and his concern is immediate. Asking what happened, Aaron waves it off as nothing serious. He explains he got bored in the carriage and accidentally nicked himself while playing with his sword. Javis just stares at him, clearly unconvinced by that excuse, especially after witnessing Aaron's actual combat skills. There's no way he could cut himself by accident. Aaron looks away, realizing he probably needs a better story. Javis grips his sword with a serious expression, warning Aaron to be more careful. Keeping him alive is literally his only job, and he doesn't want to fail. He mentions that the group will eat and then continue traveling till sunset. They head back toward the carriage. A rustling sound comes from nearby bushes. Javis' hand darts to his hilt, ready for whatever might leap out. Aaron presses his hand down, stopping him. Naran calmly assures him that there's no danger. Javis looks at Aaron like he's lost his mind. Then Sari leaps out of the bushes like a graceful gazelle, landing straight into Aaron's arms, instantly answering the unspoken question. Javis stares at the tiny creature, guessing it's some sort of weasel. Aaron shields Sari's head with his uninjured hand, introducing him as his pet. Javis asks when he got a pet, and Aaron casually replies he's had it for a while. Then Aaron delivers the knockout line. Weren't you spying on me? How did you not know? Looks like someone wasn't doing their job. Javis is left sputtering, completely caught off guard. Aaron introduces them properly, telling Sari to greet the green-haired guy. Sari looks up at Javis with wide, innocent, curious eyes. Javis visibly softens, charmed by those round, adorable eyes. He reaches out to pet Sari, expecting a wholesome moment. The instant his hand touches Sari's head, the little creature's expression shifts to pure disdain, as if Javis insulted his entire lineage. Javis immediately retracts his hand, assuming the pet hates him for no reason. Aaron deadpans that Sari literally just saw him almost draw a sword on Aaron moments ago. So maybe Javis is at fault for the terrible first impression. Javis throws his hands up in surrender, acknowledging it. He walks off to get food, humbled by the interaction. Meanwhile, Sari's eyes burn with determination, ready to defend his father. Aaron raises his hand, Sari places his tiny paws on it, and they share a quiet moment. Aaron reflects that the effort to bond was worth it. The carriage moves along scenic mountain paths and verdant forests. Coastline trail stretches out ahead. Aaron sits with arms crossed, deep in thought, reviewing theories from the Emperor's Guide. He considers how a Bulgasari's growth depends on what it consumes during hatching and early development. The dragon blood he used handled the initial crucial step, giving Sari a strong base, but the next stage requires a proper elixir. He mentally prepares for that, knowing the elixir is expensive and requires serious investment. Glancing at Sari, he does a double take. The little rascal is happily eating the bamboo life pill. The extremely rare and costly pill, personally gifted by the Mountain Bamboo sect leader, which cost 150 coins, and which Aaron had been saving for the perfect moment, is now being devoured in real time. He slumps slumps, resting his head on his hand, defeated, realizing he must hustle to recover the loss. He checks his mental timeline, 53 days until the monthly trading limit resets, and he must secure his next product immediately. Ideas swirl as he calculates what would sell well across multiple systems while staying balanced and profitable. The base price needs to be high enough to justify the effort. Margins must be substantial. He crunches numbers as if preparing a serious business presentation. Then it clicks. His eyes widen. He sits up straight. In his mind, he declares with certainty, "I've got it." Aaron has discovered the ultimate money-making method. He realizes he can flip internal cultivation gear on the exchange for 250 coins each, and with VIP perks, he'll actually earn much more. He imagines himself swimming in gold coins, laughing like Scrooge McDuck, picturing thousands, maybe tens of thousands, pouring in effortlessly. Then reality slammed into him all at once. The exchange came with an absurd 500-day resale restriction. That meant he would be stuck waiting over a year before pulling this move again, and his excitement collapsed instantly. Just as he is about to lose it completely, an achievement suddenly appears. King of Gold pops up, and just like that, he is back in business. So what does Aaron do with all those coins? He launches straight into a massive shopping spree. He starts buying elixirs and random goods like it is Black Friday. He gets himself hyped because these elixirs do not have any sales restrictions. The man is already planning his next profit scheme before the current one is even finished. Once the trading chaos is finally over, Aaron shifts his focus back to his pet, begins pouring colorful elixirs into the little creature like he is feeding rare candies to a Pokemon. Sparks are practically bursting from the pet's eyes, and Aaron sits there looking completely blissful as he watches it happen. He checks the pet's fangs. Then he inspects its mouth like a dentist and confirms that everything is developing properly. Apparently, once these pets reach a certain stage, their fur and fangs finish growing, marking the end of their baby phase, and Sari has just reached it. Aaron feels relieved since he can finally stop spending so many elixirs on this little guy. He quickly calculates where his coins went, about a third on Sari, another third reinvested into the exchange for future trades, and the remaining portion goes toward cultivation items and everyday supplies. And he takes out a blue paper, a healing magic item known as Second Circle Daytime Healing Magic. With a wide grin on his face, he tears it apart. Blue light bursts open above him. Magic begins swirling through the air. He closes his eyes and lets the energy wash over him, and he says that chi breathing is great for the soul, but nothing works better than this for improving one's appearance. Apparently, in his previous life, he was the life of every party. He touches his face and basically admits that looks matter a lot. This time he is fully committing to pretty boy mode. Then he hears that they are still half a day away from their destination. He tells his people to keep moving and rest properly once they arrive. They reach Acadio just as the sun is setting. Aaron's group pulls up in front of a huge 3-story mansion. Everyone stands there completely stunned. Aaron stays calm, clearly pleased with their reaction. Beside him, Javis starts bringing up the matter of a hotel, but Aaron cuts him off before he can finish. He says everyone needs proper rest and should be treated well. Then he openly tosses Javis a pouch containing 200 coins. He tells him to arrange hot baths and good food for the crew, adding that the extra tip is because they deserve to enjoy themselves after the long trip. Javis is genuinely stunned, saying that amount is far more than enough. Aaron only smiles and says they did not come all this way to mess around. He then asks where the meeting spot is. A green-haired man points toward the castle walls, explaining that he left a mark there, and they will get a response once it is noticed. Aaron folds his arms and says that is fine, they will wait. That night, the crew completely lets loose. At a tavern, they drink, shout, and feast like there is no tomorrow. Aaron and the green-haired captain sit apart from them, quietly watching the men celebrate. Some of the crew tries to pull the captain into the drinking, but Aaron stares straight at him and warns that even one glass will have consequences. The captain goes terribly pale. He dramatically presses a fist to his chest. Then he tells his men that one drink becomes two becomes three, and they are not tricking him today. Disappointed crew finally wanders away. Then a girl carrying a tray of drinks accidentally bumps into the captain and quickly apologizes. He tells her to be careful, then sits back down. As he settles in, Aaron casually asks whether he still has the item. Javis takes a sip of water and asks who Aaron thinks he is. He admits he was surprised because it was the first time someone had bumped into him that deliberately. Night falls and Aaron and Javis are already moving through the back alleys. Javis spreads out the map and explains how they divided the city into sectors, pointing to a T that marks Trevor, the target they're tracking. Aaron gives him the classic skeptical look and asks if this plan will really work, while Javis stays completely relaxed. He assures him that everything's set, having dealt with Trevor before, and is ready to handle it solo immediately. Aaron checks if he truly intends to go alone. Javis quickly lays down some street wisdom. Eyes are everywhere in the city, and being seen together would raise alarms instantly. Aaron gets the logic, but knows trust and reason are very different things. Despite their close travels, he reflects that familiarity doesn't guarantee reliability. He throws Javis a curveball, demanding an on-the-spot progress report. Javis looks genuinely surprised and asks if Aaron really doubts him after everything. Aaron doesn't flinch. He tells him plainly that there's no trust between them. It is what it is. Here's where Javis proves he's more than just hot-headed. Instead of reacting emotionally, he raises his hands in surrender, offering Aaron the chance to verify the report himself. Aaron pauses, processing, then asks if Javis is offended. Javis keeps it real, saying he knows his exact place in the relationship, and he's smart enough not to act recklessly. Then he drops some genuine wisdom, noting that his life matters to him. He won't risk it over lingering doubts from the past. Aaron returns the report silently. He simply tells Javis to get moving. Javis bows professionally and disappears into the city streets. Aaron stands in the alley, reflecting on how trust can never fully reveal someone's mind. He pulls out a scroll tied with a red ribbon, tears it open and activates an invisibility skill. Some third circle transparency magic that sounds cooler than it probably is. Magical energy swirls dramatically around his arm, and just like that he vanishes completely. Looking at his hand, he notes it works better than expected and wonders what would happen if he layered his light body skill on top. Combining the skills turns him into an almost ghost-like presence. He moves across rooftops, leaping between buildings and gliding over people below. All the lit windows remain oblivious to his presence. At one point, he crouches on a roof to admire the cityscape at night, impressed by the view. From that vantage, he spots Javis below. Even at a distance, he can tell Javis is skilled. Javis moves naturally through the crowd, blending in without rushing or acting suspicious. Aaron's eyes are sharp. He notices 3 men in matching uniforms trailing Javis at a distance. He smirks, glad he didn't follow. It would have been messy. Javis reaches a house with every window illuminated. He knocks with a secretive, coded pattern. Soon a man appears. He glances around nervously, and quickly lets Javis inside. Meanwhile, Aaron perches on the roof of the same house, observing. He debates activating another ability, something called 100-step perception. It supposedly lets him hear conversations from extreme distances, and he decides to try it. At first, he picks up only mundane chatter, nothing useful. But soon he tunes into the real discussion, which is far more serious. Inside, with the fireplace crackling, Javis faces Trevor directly. Trevor seems genuinely surprised to see Javis in his city and asks why he came. Javis drops the news that Gilbert is dead, shifting Trevor's expression to shock as he asks how it happened. Javis stays composed, asking whether Trevor believes it was illness or accident, a strange response to the question. Trevor clutches his head, struggling to process it. He gathers himself and asks how Javis is handling the news. Javis notes that Gilbert once saved his life. Trevor falls silent, crossing his arms, concluding Gilbert must have kept everything secret until the very end. The weight of that realization hangs in the room. Suddenly, something clicks in Trevor's mind, and you can literally see his expression change as the realization hits him. He turns to Javis and points out a glaring inconsistency. The academy is in the capital, far from this city. So why is Javis even here? Trevor locks eyes with Javis, waiting for him to slip up. His 2 henchmen mirror his intensity. They glare at Javis as if ready to strike. On the rooftop, Aaron sweats nervously, thinking, did we just blow the whole operation? But Javis stands there unfazed, calm as ice. Then Aaron squints at Trevor and asks in a deadpan tone, are you seriously enjoying this? And just like that, the tension evaporates. Trevor bursts into laughter, throwing his hands up like, relax man, I'm just messing with you. He admits feeling bad about Gilbert, but hey, that's the job, you can't cry over every loss or nothing would ever get done. Aaron finally exhales on the roof, relieved they weren't exposed. Trevor leans forward, asking how Javis managed to get here unnoticed since the trip took far longer than expected. Javis explains he used Aruna's cover, visiting Acadio first, and since that guy is clueless, he said yes immediately without questions. Aaron's face twists, hearing himself roasted as a gullible pawn. Javis called him easy to manipulate. Aaron forces a smile through gritted teeth, thinking, does this guy actually mean that? Javis slides a folded paper across the table, saying it needs encryption before sending it to the Empire. Trevor grins and asks if that's it. Javis simply says nope. He turns on his heel and walks out confidently. From the rooftop, Aaron watches him leave. Silently giving him respect, he passed Trevor's test perfectly. Just as Aaron is about to leave, one of Trevor's men speaks up. He points out it's suspicious that the agent survived while the messenger ended up dead. Aaron's heart leaps, thinking, oh no, did they figure it out? But Trevor shuts him down instantly, asking if anyone really thinks Javis would betray them. The brown-haired guy shrugs, saying Javis was demoted, so who knows? Trevor states flatly that Javis isn't the betraying type. He values his family above all all and would never risk them. The paranoid man sighs, muttering that you can never truly know someone. Trevor points at him and tells him to drop it and get back to work, reminding him the higher-ups decide everything. Their job is just to relay information. Aaron watches Javis fade into the shadows, thinking the man clearly operates with his own agenda. Aaron heads back, and as the invisibility spell fades, his body glows red before fully materializing. He looks at his palm, grinning, realizing the invisibility plus the 100-step perception combo was worth every coin, and he's definitely going to use it again. He strolls down the stone road feeling confident, until loud shouting snaps him back to reality. Someone screams about disrespecting hierarchy, and another yells for silence. Aaron turns to see a crowd brawling in the shadows. Angry men face off against knights, furious that a low-ranking knight dared talk back. Dark-haired knight replies that his master is the Marquis, not the person shouting orders. Aaron's stomach drops as he recognizes the voices. His men, drunk off their asses. In the middle of a street fight, the knight puffs his chest and declares that without Steel Guard, the Marquises wouldn't even exist. Aaron freezes at the name. His face darkens. Steel Guard, that means Marquis Albert. The opposing side loses control, one shouting he's done reasoning with crazy northerners, claiming he'll show this village slave what dignity is. The knight steps forward, rallying his crew to defend Steel Guard's honor. Both sides charge. Then a commanding voice slices through the chaos. Everyone freezes mid-swing. A man in a blue uniform with a red cape and a sword at his side stands, visibly enraged. Someone gasps in the crowd. It's the second captain. Aaron's hands tremble, teeth clenched as if ready to crack. Just seeing him triggers full fight or flight, and he squeezes his eyes shut. Memories flood back. His last life, strapped to a chair, screaming until his throat bled. Room full of torture devices. A pool of his own blood beneath him. Clothes soaked red, head hanging limp like a broken doll. And the one responsible for putting him through all of that was this unpleasant bastard. So the moment our boy saw him for the first time, the first thought that crossed his mind was to take him down. He was almost ready to end things with that guy right on the spot. But then he stopped himself, thinking there was no reason to let him off that easily. He wanted that bastard to face a much slower payback later. Before the situation could explode, though, Derica walks over to the two fools who caused the whole mess. The instant those soldiers see him approaching, they stiffen in fear. Derica steps right up to them and snaps. Did I not just tell you idiots not to cause trouble? They immediately start bowing and apologizing as if their lives depend on it, which, in this kind of story, they probably do. After that, Derica turns toward the Steel Guard knight. He narrows his eyes and asks where the man is from. Then he demands to know what Steel Guard is doing in Acadio territory. Knight is sweating heavily, trying to force out an answer, but before he can properly speak, Aaron steps forward himself and says he will handle the matter. The entire crowd turns to look, including Albert's people. The knight, the random onlookers, and everyone nearby all spin around in surprise. That is because our boy had infused internal energy into his voice. He walks forward with a calm, confident presence. Then he introduces himself using his full official name. Eric immediately starts calculating the situation in his head. A member of the Steel Guard family being here means the whole incident has suddenly become far more serious. Aaron explains in a relaxed tone. They stopped in Acadio on the way to the academy because he wanted to see the second city. Then he smoothly turns the question around and asks why the Alberts are here. Derica steps in and gives almost the same kind of explanation. He quickly apologizes for the earlier disturbance, clearly trying to calm everything down. But Albert, being a complete fool, suddenly cuts in. He points indignantly at Steel Guard and asks why Derica is apologizing when they were the ones who started it. The moment that idiot speaks, it is obvious Derek feels his soul leave his body, knowing the spoiled brat has relied on his family's Marcus title to bully others for years. But a title alone will not make Steel Guard back down, and acting that way is bound to bring consequences. Derica tries to rescue the disaster by suggesting they rest for the night and resolve everything properly in the morning. Aaron is not willing to accept that, though. With just the right amount of sarcasm, he asks whether anyone actually knows what happened, since they only just arrived. Albert waves him off as if dismissing an insect, saying it does not matter because a baron ranks below a marquis. The Steel Guard knights immediately grow tense after hearing that disrespect. Aaron, however, only smiles, lowers his gaze, and lets out a quiet laugh. Then he looks up with a frightening calmness and tells Albert that what he is saying is complete nonsense. Albert's face turns red with anger. He points at Aaron and shouts for him to apologize. Aaron calmly replies that he will apologize if he is truly in the wrong. Then he turns to one of Albert's own men and asks him to explain what really happened. The man from Albert's group starts sweating and reluctantly admits that Steel Guard did shout first, and the argument then turned into a fight. Albert instantly seizes on that and yells for Aaron to kneel and apologize right away. Aaron cuts him off quickly, telling him to calm down as if speaking to a spoiled child, and says both sides must be heard before anyone apologizes. He turns to the Steel Guard knight named Mihail and asks whether that account is correct. Mihail lowers his head head and admits that, technically they did start it, but he explains that Albert's men mocked them first. They asked how long Steel Guard planned to keep riding on Lazacon's reputation. They also acted as though past achievements were the only reason Steel Guard still mattered. Mihail apologizes to Eren for causing a scene, but makes it clear he does not regret defending their honor. He then declares that no true Steel Guard knight would quietly endure that kind of insult. Eren remains silent for a moment, taking everything in. Then he calls to the man from Albert's side and asks if that part is true. The man instantly starts stumbling over his words, trying to backtrack by saying they did not exactly say it that way. Derek stares at him like he wants to wring the fool's neck, thinking this idiot is making the situation worse all by himself. Eren catches the entire exchange and nods, as if confirming exactly what he expected. Then he turns back to Mihail and tells him to raise his head in front of everyone, and he openly commends him for handling the situation with integrity. Mihail and the other Steel Guard knights look at their young master with emotional, nearly teary expressions, clearly ready to die for him at that moment. Eren then removes his cloak, revealing the black shield emblem on his shirt beneath. He tells them that, as part of a family carrying the heart of steel, he cannot let such disrespect go unchallenged. Albert, Derica, and the others freeze, staring at the crest in stunned silence. Here's the thing. The Steel Guard family isn't some ordinary noble house to be mocked at a dinner. They've been protecting Navarro for generations, and Eren isn't about to let a spoiled rich kid tarnish their legacy. On top of that, he has a personal grudge. These knights will fight for anyone who shows them respect, and they'll spill blood for anyone who dares insult them. He fixes a piercing stare on Derek and Albert, asking his own knights bluntly if they truly think they are worthless. Derica and Albert remain frozen, looking utterly dismayed. Derek is internally panicking because this young Eren, the same age as Albert, speaks with the authority of someone who has ruled for decades. Derica expected the typical noble child behavior, dropping his grandfather's name, rehearsed political lines, maybe a tantrum, but instead, this kid stands firm with the confidence of a seasoned warrior. Derek is sweating bullets, realizing this isn't just empty anger. It's supported by one of the most influential families in the realm. He realizes, oh man, this is genuine Steelgar blood right here. Meanwhile, Albert grits his teeth so hard they might shatter, silently cursing Eren in every language he knows. The moment Derica catches that glare on his master's face, he knows things could explode if he doesn't act fast. So what does this tactical genius do? He turns on his own knights, mercilessly dismantling them with zero hesitation. He just starts going after his own men, punching one square in the face, down he goes, another takes the dirt, hit after hit. We watch as this unfold, everyone else gaping in shock. Derica continues until every knight is on the ground groaning, then scolds them for massively embarrassing Lord Albert. The knights sit there, faces swollen and pathetic, begging for forgiveness. With a cold, dark expression, Derica tells them to apologize to Albert, not him. He scolds them for starting the whole fiasco, and for humiliating the Marquess in public. The terrified knights immediately bow and loudly apologize to Albert, who stands with crossed arms, clearly annoyed. Meanwhile, Eren watches Derica handle it, thinking this guy is surprisingly clever. He reframed the situation perfectly. Instead of Albert's fault for having disrespectful subordinates, it's now the lower-level knights causing the problem, and making them apologize shifts the blame. Derica made appear the conflict was only among the junior ranks, not between noble houses. Eren realizes Derek managed to back down without ruining his own reputation. He makes a mental note to keep an eye on this cunning individual. Albert has had enough of the humiliation. He storms off, declaring he's going to bed. Eren smirks to himself, thinking he didn't get exactly what he wanted, then casually says he will accept Marquess Albert's apology. The moment the words leave his mouth, Albert freezes mid-step. The Marquess spins around, veins bulging, face flushed with rage. Eren just stands there, wearing the smuggest, most confident smile imaginable. Albert is so furious he can't even speak. He turns and storms off, while everyone else watches silently. Derica bows respectfully, then leaves with his master, the knights scrambling to follow. Just then, Javis arrives and sees the tense scene. He nervously asks if he missed something important. Nobody responds, slowly turning to glare daggers at him. Seeing the deadly glares, he immediately starts apologizing as if his life depends on it. He says, I don't know what I did, but I'm truly sorry. Cut to the next morning, Albert is eating breakfast aggressively, slicing his meat. He asks Derica about Eren's reputation. Derica confirms that Eren is considered the absolute worst among the Steel Guard sons, nothing like his father or brothers. A total disappointment, apparently. Albert complains that rumors are just rumors, since no one has actually seen Eren fight, so why pay attention to a sharp-tongued kid? He admits he genuinely dislikes Eren and questions why Derica made the knights apologize in that way. Derica explains that backing down was the smart move, because the Steel Guard guard name still commands fear. Pressing Aaron any harder might have made the entire situation blow up in their faces. Albert reluctantly accepts the reasoning, but vows to make Aaron pay for humiliating him yesterday. No one disrespects him like that and simply walks away. Then Albert notices something strange. He hasn't seen any steel guard people around, so he asks where they went. Erica says they left very early, practically at dawn. He had suggested they all travel to the capital together, since they were headed the same way, but the steel guard group said they couldn't risk being late and left. Albert gets irritated, asking why Derica offered something he was never told to arrange, making it seem like they wanted to travel together. Derica answers calmly that increasing their security made sense, since protecting Albert comes first. Albert finds that unbearably arrogant. He sets his fork down and declares that he's finished eating. Later that night, Albert is fast asleep in his room. He snores loudly, sprawled across the bed with his limbs spread out like a starfish. Two large windows stand uncovered, without curtains. One of them slowly creaks open in the dark. Albert keeps sleeping with his mouth wide open, completely unaware. Then, out of nowhere, a hand clamps over his face. He jolts in panic, letting out muffled sounds of fear. When he finally manages to open his eyes, Aaron is standing over him in the darkness. His expression looks terrifyingly unstable. One hand is still pressed over the Marx's mouth. Aaron lifts a finger to his lips, while Albert spirals into full panic. He desperately tries to understand how this man even entered his room. Feeling Aaron's grip, he wonders how someone so thin could possess that much strength. Aaron smiles eerily, saying he had imagined the perfect revenge many times. He wanted to take his time and make Albert suffer every step of the way. The moment he saw Albert's face, filled with nothing but envy and hatred, he decided to change the plan entirely. Looking at him now, Aaron realizes Albert hasn't changed from the past life at all. He is still the same pitiful, jealous man. Flashback panels show Albert on his throne, surrounded by knights, as Aaron remembers how he attacked the Steelguard family and tried to take everything from them. Back in the present, Aaron stares at Albert with that unsettling look, calmly implying that Albert's life may end tonight. In the past life flashback, Aaron held two swords and pushed through the knights, shouting at Albert and demanding to know why he was doing this. He was genuinely confused, unable to understand what he had done to deserve it. Albert, smug and entitled, only grinned and asked if Aaron truly did not understand. Sitting on his throne, he confessed that he had hated Aaron from the very first time they met. Aaron froze in disbelief when Albert gave the most absurd reason. He simply hated his name. Aaron stared at him, asking if that was really enough reason to ruin their lands and take everything. Albert answered that Aaron was no better than him. His eyes narrowed as he launched into a bitter rant, saying he had talent and had mastered techniques too. Yet because of appearances and reputation, Aaron was welcomed everywhere with smiles and respect. Then Albert's eyes turned wild as he grinned, insisting there was nothing special about Aaron, calling him broken and pathetic. Aaron stood silently as Albert mocked him as a failed lord with no land, no power, and nothing left. The Marquis spread his arms proudly, proclaiming himself the great Marquis Albert. With an arrogant smirk, he declared that he had finally won. In the end, he had brought down an entire family over jealousy and resentment toward a name. The scene returns to the present, with Aaron on Albert's bed and his hand still covering the man's mouth. Albert keeps struggling and making muffled noises, trying to figure out what this frightening man wants from him. Aaron stares with wide, unsettling eyes, and Albert finally realizes he may be completely serious about ending things tonight. With trembling hands, Albert grabs Aaron's wrist. Aaron grins and pulls his hand away from Albert's face. The Marquis opens his mouth and screams for Derica with everything he has, begging for help, but no sound comes out. He freezes in shock, sweat running down his face, wondering what happened to his voice. Aaron casually waves his hand, smiling as if explaining a simple party trick, and says these are called pressure points. Pressed correctly, they can stop a person from speaking. Albert presses his lips together, terror filling his eyes as he realizes he cannot make a sound unless someone releases the point. Albert watches as Aaron calmly says, unfortunately. Then Aaron smiles with that same unsettling look, adding that he cannot simply kill him and display his face on the wall. Albert trembles in fear, trying to understand how this happened when guards were stationed all around his room. Erica was right next door. How had no one noticed anything? Then, all at once, an idea strikes him. He grabs the blanket and hurls it straight at Aaron's face. Albert leaps out of bed and bolts toward the door, thinking he just needs to fling it open and shout. But a moment later, Aaron dashes alongside him and drives a knee into his stomach. Albert starts coughing violently, saliva spilling from his mouth, while Aaron stands coldly watching with merciless eyes. Then Aaron lifts his leg as Albert flinches and drops to his knees. He scrambles pitifully toward the exit. Aaron observes his pathetic attempts as if watching an insect. Albert jerks and freezes when 3 precise strikes hit key points on his back and neck. Aaron stands with a faint smile, arm extended, 3 fingers poised like he's casting a technique. Albert feels trapped as if in thick quicksand, horrified to find he cannot move. Aaron walks over, grabs his collar, and politely warns him not to move or cause trouble, a very civil approach for a man mid-murder. Looking down at the pathetic man, he assures Albert that if he cooperates, it will be quick and relatively painless. Albert's expression is stunned and bleak, his mind struggling to process the scene. Aaron drags him across the floor to the desk. With one sharp pull, he throws Albert into a chair, leaving his mouth agape. Then several more precise strikes land on his back. Suddenly, he can move again, waving his hand in confusion. His eyes widen when Aaron casually places a blank sheet before him and orders him to write. Albert glares angrily at Aaron, defiant, while Aaron remains perfectly calm, telling him to pick up the pen. But Albert internally refuses, thinking Aaron will kill him immediately after writing, so why cooperate? The moment Aaron notices his hesitation, he draws his sword and severs both of Albert's hands clean off, making him eligible for a disability parking spot. And once more, he calmly instructs Albert to pick up the pen. When the shock fades, Albert collapses, clutching his stumps and screaming. Aaron looks down and remarks, "I told you not to make this difficult, why are you still whining?" Albert lifts tear-filled, hateful eyes. As Aaron brings the blade closer, Albert flinches sharply. White magical energy begins to shimmer around the sword. Albert's jaw drops. He thought he was dealing with a crazy person, but it's a skilled aura-wielding madman. Aaron grows impatient and raises the sword to sever Albert's right foot. The terrified man throws his hand up. He struggles to stand, drags a wooden chair over, sits and grabs the pen with his remaining hand, voice trembling as he asks what to write. Aaron lowers the sword and coldly warns him not to spill blood on the paper, adding with disgust that even a single drop will cost Albert his head. Aaron stands over him, dictating a letter supposedly from Albert's pitiful son to his father. Albert writes, the pen scratching across tear-blurred paper. He tries to rationalize that he can get a prosthetic and his servants will manage the rest. Tears streaming and teeth clenched, he focuses on staying alive. Then he recalls losing his hand and the noise he made when he fell. Derricka should have noticed something by now, right? The pen scratches on as Aaron watches from behind. Albert internally screams, baffled at why nothing has happened yet. Gritting his teeth, he wonders what the hell Derricka is doing. When he reaches the last sentence, Albert nervously looks up at Aaron. He thinks he needs to stall, maybe make a mistake or smudge the ink. Suddenly Aaron's face is inches away, grinning maniacally, whispering that he has read Albert's mind all along. Why are you wasting time? Albert turns ghostly pale. Aaron orders him to finish the final sentence. Albert's hand moves again as though he has no choice. Aaron takes the completed paper with a satisfied smile, complimenting Albert on a job well done. Meanwhile, Albert panics internally, aware he won't last long with all the blood loss. Derricka should have realized by now that something's off, right? And Aaron casually taps Albert's throat. Albert touches his own throat and coughs, eyes widening as he realizes his voice has returned. Aaron twirls his sword and cheerfully asks what's wrong, saying now you can speak. Albert releases his grip on his throat. He clenches his teeth nervously, veins bulging across his forehead. He leaps to his feet, yelling at the top of his lungs for Derricka, claiming an intruder is in the room. Aaron grins, tilting his head, asking if that's really all Albert could come up with while teetering at death's door. Albert stares, baffled, as Aaron encourages him to shout even louder. He can't understand Aaron's calmness. Doesn't he know the guards will kill him the moment they arrive? Aaron rolls his eyes, asking if Albert truly thought he hadn't prepared for this. He explains he used a silent scroll upon entering, ensuring not a single sound escapes. Albert's eyes widen in shock. His body trembles as he stammers, asking why Aaron took away his voice in the first place. Picking up the letter, Aaron asks smugly if Albert really would have written it without believing he had a chance to survive. The stunned noble collapses to the floor. His body shakes in terror, staring blankly as reality finally sinks in. Looking down, Aaron acknowledges the difficulty, noting that Albert lost to the steel guards and caused this himself. Albert stammers, bewildered, asking what he's talking about. Raising his sword, glowing with aura, Aaron declares it was Albert's inferiority complex that led to his demise. Albert frantically raises his hand, pleading for mercy, swearing he'll never forget this night. He clutches Aaron's leg, promising anything for his family, just name the price. Maroon looks down, revenge blazing in his eyes, stating coldly that Albert should never have killed him. Tears stream down Albert's face as he screams for him to stop. Aaron swings. Albert's body lies separated from his head, blood splattered everywhere. Aaron calmly sheaths his sword, remarking that it was the best expression Albert ever had. A red flame flickers briefly. A small brown jar appears. Inside is boric acid, capable of dissolving bodies, instantly perfect for hiding evidence. Yellowish liquid pours out. Aaron thinks the scene should look like Albert vanished, not died. The body begins to dissolve, and the pajamas emit foul fumes as they vanish. Aaron smiles, knowing he needs to handle the deceased's belongings. He opens his inventory, grabbing the pajamas before they fully melt. The steel guards are a day away, making it impossible to return their perfect overnight alibi. He finds a black and gold magic sword, considering that the Albert family might notice later. But his alibi is airtight. He tosses 4 scrolls into the air. Red energy activates, rendering him invisible. Stealth, speed boost, and time reduction all engage simultaneously. Completely invisible, he grins. Suddenly, he vanishes from the room as if he were never there. The letter he forced Albert to write claims his pathetic son finally realizes he cannot lead the Albert family. He plans to escape somewhere he can live freely without pressure. He asks his father not to look for him, because he's gone for good. But to the next morning, he's back in his carriage. Staring out the window, he feels disoriented despite having gotten his revenge. He expected to feel victorious or satisfied, but instead feels neither. Doubt creeps in. Did he rush it? Would careful planning have felt better? He shakes the thought off. No, the timing was perfect. Another chance like that wouldn't come soon. He needs to stop dwelling on that fool. His mind drifts to his past life. The truth, Albert wasn't the reason the steel guards fell. Their downfall stemmed from his father's disappearance. He slaps his own cheek hard, snapping back to reality. His eyes sharpen with determination, thinking now is the perfect moment. Like the video and help Mamoru create exciting content, and don't forget to hit the cheeky little bell. I'm out.